Minute. Oh, are we live? I think we are. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's a big one today. So the title already says market bounce. Things were feeling a little good yesterday, but now fast forward, pretty much the same Japanese headlines that we heard yesterday about us. The Japanese took it very well, and they viewed it as a sign of good negotiations. And then right here, pre-market, just a couple minutes ago, there is a plane right now going to South Korea with trade negotiators, and the market liked it. There were some comments by Trump. He slightly mentioned trying to get a deal with China, but all in all, this is your first relief day. Things might happen, and we'll get a curveball. And I said it already to the guys on the news there for the pledge. I think it's either all day melt up or halfway through the day we get a curveball and then it all ends. So either way, Chattadonia, we got about 1 minute. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, 45 seconds. So post your place, call out anything. You need any help, you let me know. And God bless America. Woo! All right, I kind of need to go to the bathroom. Do I have time? I don't know if I have time. I don't think I'll have time. Well, either way, Chad. God bless you. Call out any plays. We have the news wire down. And yeah, let's have a good one. Let's have a good one. And I'm proud to be an American, or at least I know I long term. And I'm born. Oh, yeah, Humana. There's one more play that I wanted to see for the double dip. I do have a couple, so I just sent them. Watch out. There's cold plays, and then there's a few other. Let me check Broadcom. Round one. Fight. All right. And then see where those calls are at. So TLTs are already washed. So that's going to be there. Give it a little bit. We'll go for another one. Call plays are good. They're not as good, but the ones we made free, they're doing good. And then the call from yesterday's up 300%. Nike plays are up over 100%. You can make those free if you would like. All right, not bad. Oh, shit, I forgot about those old Amazons, too. So those might go, too. Don't forget about that. Watch Amazon and Oracle. I didn't even think about it. Because if we're watching any sort of relief right now, I'd be on the lookout for that if people start talking TikTok shit. Should we wait for a long-term buy, or is this going to be the pivot? You should just watch the watch list and be prepared. Because like I said the other day, you either wait for a price or you wait for the full pivot. So you don't have to kind of wake up in the morning and react. That's what I'm saying. If you plan early, plan ahead, I think you'll do a lot better. So usually that will be the best. I'm so mad at those Broadcoms. Oh, wait, never mind. Bro, those Broadcoms are cheaper? Hold on, I need to see what price I got them at. S&P jumps 3. Oh, no. Okay, wait, let me double check. Editas, you got Tesla. Oh, yeah, bro, we whiffed it. Those Broadcoms are trading for $1, $2 a pop. Ugh. I sold them out at 100% at 35 cents. Yeah, the Nikes are up too. Those of you held that Broadcom, though, that's a banger if you still have them. Again, Humana, Elevance, CVS, they're all up on the news about the Medicare Advantage stuff. And then again, SPY's up 3. You have those SPY calls. They're up about 200%. They're starting to come down. Yeah, those Nikes are 80 to 100 depending on how the bid moves right now. And then the other plays are green too. We have the old SPYs for April 14th. NAOV, what the hell is that? You didn't mention foreign countries selling bonds on the watch list. Is it off the table? I just didn't mention any of that. Like I said, I think a lot of people are getting too caught up, lost in the sauce of the bonds. That's what I was saying. Like yesterday, it was big. It's only what you saw yesterday has only happened 3 times in history. So, and I see a lot of people trying to figure out a lot of stuff with bonds. And my idea is that you don't need to figure out anything. You just need to recognize that bonds right now are highly unusual. And there's literally a 15% gap between bonds and TLT, or the SPY and TLT. And that's all. And that's all. And I said on a short time frame, I would be on the lookout for that, but I don't know the answers to those questions. And I think a lot of people very early are trying to find those answers, and I don't think they will. I think down the line we'll figure out what is happening to bonds. Is it credit? Is somebody liquidating? What is it? I don't know, but all I do know is that it's trading and moving highly unusual, and I was right on that, because again, what you witnessed yesterday, that's only happened 3 times. Never have you, again, I would say never, but only 2 other times, 2008 and I believe 1998. Those are 2008 and 2016, 15. Those are the only times you've watched the bond market do that. Literally the day after Trump was elected the first time, that's when bonds did it, and then 3 months before Lehman, that's the other time the bonds did that. Premiums are up only 200. Which ones are you talking about? It makes sense on the SPY calls because they're still out of the money. So a lot decayed, and that's what I was saying. Yeah, actually, I have to find a play. Oof. My one put got washed. That's what sucks. Damn it. But yeah, like some calls are going to be cheaper. Yeah, look. So check this out. This is a weekly, but Boeing is up 5%. The calls are the same price as yesterday. And that's what if you watch yesterday's watch list, I was mentioning that. So this is why I keep warning you guys about option premiums, because even on the upside, when volatility is this fucking high, if you don't know what you're buying, you may be buying a play with a crazy break even. So even though the market plummets, they jack up the prices even on the calls. So you might be buying this call and then we rock it up, but like the pricing is pricing in that giant move. That's why it usually ends up being red, because if you buy it during peak volatility, you're probably overpaying for it. Yeah, NVIDIA, Microsoft running. There's Docu. Again, you're up by 3.7. You should have got the stocks in the morning. Yeah, I already sent those out. Well, let me show you. I could show you guys a chart. I actually got these charts in the morning. I just didn't really have a moment to show you them. SPY's going lower. Are you ready for this? This one's going to blow your mind. This one is going to blow your... Is this it? Oh, no. Well, this is the at-the-money put cost. So are you ready for this? Right now, it's more expensive to buy a put than almost any time in the 20s. So what's going on now is that I think it's about 450 basis points is your break even. So if you buy a at-the-money put play, you need 4% to break even. Do you realize how expensive that is? Yes. So what it literally puts are some of the highest ever, or at least in the last half a decade, you have not witnessed near the money puts go for that price. That's why I was telling you guys in the middle of a lot of them, I'm like, bro, these prices are insane. Even if you think it's common option knowledge will tell you, oh, near the money. Wait, hold on. Fuck. We should have got our TLTs. Just in case, let me double check. Oh, beautiful. All right. Throw one more in for the boys. Whoa, Tesla. All right. VFS. Again, you kind of came down a decent amount, about 0.5%, a little bit more. But yeah, like I was telling you, though, premiums are like objectively the highest they've been in years now. That's what kind of sucks, you guys, because let me put it this way. Are you ready? We've had a good quarter with options, a very good quarter, a tremendous quarter. I'm sounding like Trump now if I keep adding more adjectives. But what just happened might mess everything up. What I mean by that is now, like I'm telling you, now it went from options being cheap to now you have some of the most expensive options just because of the crazy volatility. So here's the other part now. Are you ready? This one blew my mind. This one's crazy. And then you're still going lower, so watch out. Do you see this? So now if you look at this option prices, the VIX, and what everything's charging, this one blows my mind. So right now, like embedded to a lot of the SPY options, it's literally saying you will need a 2% daily break even from now until year end. This is why I'm saying maybe we might run out of options now. Someone just bought 1,000 of the play I just did. Maybe in dollars, but not in contracts. And that's their choice. That's okay. And if they bought the stream alerts and could afford that, God bless them. But yeah, I wouldn't do that. But good luck. But either way, yeah, the options are crazy now, you guys. So be very careful. Because now every single play to a degree, even if you want to play the SPY options, they're all like a 2% move from now until the end of the year. Do you know how crazy that is? So prior, most moves are pricing in like 1.3. We started off this year pricing just over 1%. So, yeah. I might sell Preem, but, I mean, 4% gap up is kind of shitty. But I was just talking about this last night. I think I would keep my eyes on any potential premium sells. You might be able to do some of that. All right. SPY at the bottom, Williams-Sonoma. Japan was the first driver in the morning. If TLT, you guys need to watch the watch list, unfortunately. I have nothing I could give you live, but if you watched yesterday's watch list, you'll walk away with more explanation, understanding, and a time frame, and a new strategy. All on yesterday's watch list for free $99. Watch this. Watch this. Watch this. There you tell it, baby! Hey, man, look at the Chad knows. The Chad knows, baby. Look, watch this. Wow. I was thinking, see, you guys, that one you did good. Watch out. SPY getting a little jumpy here. Couple names on the load there, too, still. Like SMCI getting bonds down 1. I'm not watching any currencies move. This one's interesting. Keep oil up, but yeah, you're just kind of moving around. Again, low ticker picking up. Couple names coming down. VIX is down by 17%. Then SPY's up 2.9, Dow 2.9, NASDAQ 3.1, and then Russell up by 2.5. Well, we're going to see what happens with the option play. I don't think that option plays are over, but just like I've been calling out on these days, this is why I'm freaking out. And when I keep yelling out, I'm like, it's up, it's down, it's up, it's down. And I'm trying to explain the pricing. You just got to be very, attentive. That's all. You just don't want that to backfire. You don't want to get bad plays because of simple pricing mistakes or just not being aware of them. And that will help you out a lot. Dollars down, SPY near the low, but again, now you have a 3% gap up. It's very, very, very big already. German Economics Institute cuts growth forecast by 0.1. Energy on the low ticker. Okay, and watch bonds. J&J, Google flushing. Google's still up too, but they just started selling. AMD still ripping. NVO came down again. Eli Lilly got to upgrade. SPY, again, you get these random tweaky candles. Play opposite of me? Okay. Just go live on your own, brother. Live on your own. There's a life outside of Josh. You'll be okay. Thank you. Yeah, you just gotta be careful, dude. That's what I was saying last night, bro. Put $20 out of the money goes for $20. It's insane. That's what it was. But then again, we dropped 15% in a couple of days. Starmer, I'm absolutely committed to UK steel production. Oh, where is it? About where would you consider grabbing more shares? I'm making heavy eye contact with you right now, Adam. That's what, because I'm looking at you as if, I'm like, do you really not know the answer? And I'm just staring at you. Just deep eye contact. You know what I'm saying? All right, SPY at VWAP. MSTR, I don't know, man. I think it's funny that MSTR was part of 2000 as well. But I don't know. I have no idea. Again, Bitcoin kind of held up pretty good, all things considered. I mean, in a weird way, I feel like the stock market was built out of paper compared to Bitcoin, which is not what should happen. In the last month, I feel like Bitcoin took it way better than the market did. But yeah, other than that, we'll see. JP Morgan. Again, they have banks. I got rid of those Bank of Americas. We should have held that. Yeah, they're up 3 again. You're a little lost. I think if you just go slow and stick to the day-to-day plan and listen, you won't be lost. Because like I'm saying, our long-term plans, we've been talking about it. I haven't made a move in 3 months. It's pretty easy to follow. You will be tempted to move, and you can move on your own. But for me personally, I think I have a pretty clear plan that, it's very hard to miss it. It's not like I'm moving too fast when it's all said and done there. And that's why, too, even in these moments, if you have a plan and you execute that, you're going to be good. That's why, for all of you, I'm not being an asshole as much as I'm trying to kind of highlight to you that when it comes to the market, some opportunities you want to be reactive, but other stuff too, you got to go ahead of it. And that's why I'm saying with some of these, I hope that you prepare, because when shit hits the fan and things go crazy, you have to have something that you can rely upon. All right, everything's going, man. MSTR even, Tesla. Let's see. Oh. Whoa, these are down still? Oh, my gosh. Yeah, bro, there's hella calls that are down. That's crazy. Well, yeah, this is what I was telling you guys. Because remember, I was telling you yesterday, I'm like, bro, I thought it would happen on other plays, but yeah, there's mad plays that straight up, you are up 5% and calls for next week are down on the call side. I don't know. If this play doesn't work, though, I'm going to get out. I'm not going to touch anything today. I could already tell because I just bought a play and I just saw a green candle and then it went down. I'm like, oh, hold on, because I'm like, I got a deal. But I'm like, wait a minute. They're going to scam me, too. Whoa, Meta. Nah, because I'm like, yeah, I'm scamming them. I'm like, wait a minute. They're going to scam me, too. Hold on. Well, like I said, I think today is going to either just be one-way relief, and then that's it. Or I think we're going to have this weird relief, and then middle of the day, we're going to get cold water poured on the trade deal or something else. I think it might be one of those days. You might watch premiums go higher on the way down than on the way up, depending on what call you got. Baba's dropping now, too. Excellent. It's still fucking early, bro. It is a great day to sell puts. White House economic advisor Hassett getting ready to present a plan to Trump on who and when for tariff talks. All right, you're already getting a couple of flushes. Habibi, why? Yeah, Hassett headlines hitting. Remember him yesterday. I can't believe how that rumor even developed. That was wild. VIX is climbing? Oh. So again, VIX is still under 40, which is crazy. But yeah, Hassett, we are prioritizing Japan and South Korea. Again, that right there, that's been your driver all morning. Okay, last night, again, you heard Japan. We didn't respond till Japan was like, hell yeah. And then this morning we heard about the South Korea. Unilever, Unilever, they have had talks of like buyout stuff too. Contracts are kind of weird on Unilever. Up to, it's kind of a value play. Musk on Navarro. Tesla comments, he's truly a moron. Wait, what? Trump wants fair and reciprocal trade. Will weigh as he decides whether to accept other countries' offers. All right, you're coming back down again. Tech, couple of names just plummeted right away. And then bonds going up. VIX is starting to run. Honestly, bonds moved a tiny bit, but you could kind of notice it so far. Southwest, a decent airline. Honestly, they're not bad. I just don't like airlines. That's it. That's kind of my problem. Many would call Navarro a moron, but I would never say such a thing. Trump. Hassett, Fed will decide interest rates, respect independence. Fox News interview. Cool. 3 500 put weeklies. Good luck, man. Way to post the play, though. I can respect it. Amen. All right, now you're going back up. On China, we are prioritizing trading partners for talks. So again, Hassett right now, he's the guy who started all the rumors by accident yesterday. If you guys don't know, it was literally a Good Morning America, like a miss here that caused all of that last night. It was kind of crazy. All right, SPY going up, Intel waking up all of a sudden, bro. Short-term velocity on the high ticker just took off. Oh, I forgot about those. Apple's starting to rip. It might be too early, though, now that I think about it. Apple's really starting to go. Take note on that. Coca-Cola, you guys were calling out MO. So, yeah, you're starting to run up. No, bro, these calls are cheap. That is so sad. Bro, do you know how many stocks have ripped up today? And you are literally paying for them cheaper than yesterday? So yeah, I have had so much trauma in the past that I remember this shit. That's why I kept warning you. So I'm not getting hit by it, but I'm recalling a lot of this and I'm like, wow, bro. So be careful. Just be careful cuz once again, literally, bro, I'm buying plays. I'm buying call plays for cheaper than yesterday. So there's plays that are up 4% and I'm buying calls with time cheaper than yesterday. So be careful though because you could still lose. That means the pricing might just be in la la land. Good morning. SXTP. Stupid. I almost sell out one of these. Okay, I'll wait. I'll hold it for a sec. Trade in a range. Well, we're doing good, but just, again, 4% is very, very sizable. JWN. Not much happened today. Today was just literally, even the Japan headline was last night. So people ignored the China stuff. There was rumors of China retaliation. Apparently there was like a Chinese blog that put out potential retaliation, but seemingly overnight we ignored all of that shit. And then it was the Japan. People got favorable off of that because they're like, oh shit, Japan is moving good. And then we had South Korea, and then that's it. So there's a lot of questions still unanswered yesterday. You didn't get much development. Remember, everybody's moving slow. But when it's all said and done, I mean, today is just all about East Asian trading partners working with us again. And again, they were saying it. So people described it. I believe Scott Bessent is the one that said it. He said the trading is like an ice cube, or that the trade tariffs are like an ice cube, essentially. And that before you know it, things will start melting away. NVIDIA's up. All right, that one's still going. Oh, our 300% SPY calls. It's only up 50% now, if you guys remember. Those are the ones from yesterday that we had 1,000%. And then I have old NVIDIAs that came back to green, or about to. Jeez. MD on the high. 5% pop, MD. Mad a liquid, small biotech stock, but 5% on one candle, pretty big. Levitt, today at 3, President Trump will sign executive order to reinvigorate affordable, reliable, and clean coal. Yeah, so a lot of them already reacted like BTU. And then Walmart's running. Bro, I wish we didn't whiff those plays. You remember I had those crazy Walmarts? Yeah, Walmart's move. I wish Walmart even got cheap for the long term, to be honest with you. Look at that thing just chilling. Too expensive. Amazon. Remember, Amazon was a big leader, though, the last couple of days, so make no mistake. Yeah, give credit where credit is due. City on the high still. Ryanair. Walmart. Bonds coming down while SPY's near the high of the day. Again, TLT only moved like a tenth, a quarter within there. City keeps going, too. And then SPY near the high. Netflix going up. So there's a couple names still just running. But yeah, you're up by 3.8. You're about to hit 4%. SPY's up 3.5 as well. There is Apple. And then there's NVIDIA. Bro, Boeing, actually, the calls didn't go up. That was the only one I got hustled on because I wanted that one. Oh, I'm a big fan. All right, Citibank's Apple. New high, my friends. It sucks. I mean, my other plays are up 100%, but they're starting to slow down the calls. The other ones are still up too, the April 14th calls. But again, everything is dramatically slowing down on the premiums. And then individual names, you got some winners, some losers. Bonds coming down too. Are we hitting yesterday? 5249, bro. Is it big? So again, I mean, yeah, yesterday's top wick was like 4449. So you got a little bit more again, like 5282 and then 5291. And then if we could get back up to that little, I can't believe we're in our own little box here. But yeah, that's actually very big. Dude, 3.6. It sucks because look, it's a 4% day. This day feels smaller than any other day. Just because all of it's the gap up intraday. I mean, you've moved 5 points, but do you remember yesterday, bro? You were doing 5 points right here. But yeah, you're still working your way up. Again, general good vibes are still holding. It's only been about 30 minutes, so not too bad. Yeah, old NVIDIAs are coming back up, so be careful. Those all got a premium that just kind of rewoked. BlackRock turns cautious on U.S. stocks. Yeah. All right, well, you hit a new high, got some volatility. And then I'm going to go to the bathroom. So follow me on Instagram, at The Trading Fraternity. Real Cult News on Twitter. Canada PMI is coming out. Oh, I don't think okay, I need some propaganda. Some good propaganda for a bathroom break.
30 minutes into the trading day, and we have a rally on our hands. Welcome to Bloomberg Open Interest. I'm Matt Miller.
I'm Shonali Bassick.
And I'm Katie Greifeld.
And coming up in the green, stocks rebounding from a 3-day sell-off as countries rush to the tariff negotiating table.
But a fight to the end is what China is pledging to retaliate as President Trump threatens to slap Beijing with an additional 50% import tax.
And fresh off his trip to Asia, we'll hear from Snap-on CEO Nick Pinchuk as Trump's tariff strategy sparks uncertainty and criticism from manufacturers. All of that and more coming up, but let's check on these markets. The S&P 500 fresh off its session highs, now up about 3.6% on hefty volume. You take a look at what is actually moving right now. You only have 17 stocks in the red right now. This is a big, broad bounce back from really the carnage that we've seen over the last 3 days or so, Matt Miller. We'll have to see if it can sustain itself.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's talk a little bit about that carnage and the results. Joining us now is Karen Pay, Fiduciary Trust International Head of Portfolio Management and Equities. And Karen, I want to talk first about, I think we were conditioned in the past years to put a much heavier balance of stocks into our portfolios. And they're also a much heavier mix of big cap tech stocks. So what did that 10% loss on Thursday and Friday, or 10% plus loss, mean for most people's portfolios?
Well, certainly portfolios are down on a year-to-date basis and have retraced a lot of the gains actually from last year. In fact, the market, as you know, has retraced the gains from 2024. So portfolios are definitely suffering in this most recent decline. The swiftness of the sell-off is quite incredible. I think that with the sell-off in the last couple of days, I do think for long-term investors, we've gotten valuations to the point where they're attractive as they've been in a long time.
What? Some are. Again, tech, Mag 7 is like still a high price, but the PE came down the most. All right, Apple's ripping. Google, watch if pretty much Mag 7 leads us. I don't think you missed the bottom. Quite simply, I think today is your first day of relief. Again, people thought pretty much today would happen yesterday because after the VIX runs up like that, usually there's a fat just relief that comes in. Yesterday was weird with the rumors and everything else, but I think today just we're riding off good news or not escalating news. And yeah, that's it. But I just like every other moment, I reminded you guys, you are not out of the woods. So don't, as long as you don't let your guard down, I think you'll be good. I wouldn't give into emotions and FOMO. Like I'm saying, I would make a plan and kind of know what it is, but then also, too, when it's time to react. Elon says Tesla has highest percentage of U.S. content in a car. And all right, new highs, NVIDIA breaking out. And that's it. Other SPY plays are starting to climb. Whoa, NAOV. That was the small cap runner from the morning. Nano Vibronics up 385. They were halted, then got unhalted. Bonds coming down. So let's see, because TLT has not done the opposite yet. We do have a 3-year bond auction later. Intel is climbing. Those, I think we have some. I made most of them free, or did I sell them all? No, I got like one. No, I got 3 of them. No, those are up. Damn. So Intel contracts are more expensive from yesterday. Like I'm saying, some names, depending on how close or far out you are, some are up, some aren't. And then SPY hit that high. Apple, Pfizer still at 22. Again, Humana, Elevance, CVS, they all did good on the news. Your TLT calls clap, you'll be okay. You buy shit at expensive valuations, you'll be fine. You're rich. But yeah, don't buy a lot if you can't afford it. Is Teachable the market list? No. Teachable is where you sign up for the any of the stuff we have. Google on the high, then Intel. Whoa, SQQ now, so watch VIX. Oh, I forgot about those. No, they already wiped out the VIX. That one, we'll look at it at the end of the day. Oh, Alan and Google account. Welcome. Welcome. SPY, MSTR. I sold those 2 early, but I didn't like those. But that might go 52.57 again, like 52.60, and then 82 or whatever. We go from there. Yeah, bro, look at NVIDIA, though. It sucks because those plays were a lot cheaper, but that's running. Now Apple, that's it, man. You're up over 4%. So, again, I mean, from yesterday till today, you were down 5%, closed green, and now you're up 4. Dude, that's like a 10% swing in 24 hours. So, from 485 to 523. It's crazy, but this was that high end of the rumor. So keep in mind, yesterday, the rumor was right around here. You're now above that. Next point will be like 525 on the SPY, and then we potentially fill the gap. But that would be like a 7% day. Maybe you get a circuit breaker to the upside. Petrobras holds new tender offer. That could happen. Yeah, you could get a circuit breaker to the upside if it moves too fast, too high. Because, again, I mean, you're up 3.6. If you filled the gap, I want to say you'd be up like 7%. But I don't know, because right now you're just past the rumor zone. But that's what would suck, too, though. I hope you guys realize that. Because now what happens if we barely get above this and then we stay trapped? Because then all this is saying is now you're kind of in a new zone from 520 to 480. So hopefully you get above it. Because remember, yesterday was that little rumor, and then you popped, and it was insane. That was literally the 3rd largest intraday swing in 15 years. So, but if we can't get above that level, not good. Trade Representative Greer testifies to Congress. Remember last time? So he might cause some headlines. We've seen it where he hasn't, but I remember one of those speeches with him started moving. SPY's starting to move now, though, again. It's because the NVIDIA calls got washed. So I had old ones that are almost back to green, but that's why they seem so cheap. And, I mean, again, the stock after the split, it moves a little different. But, yeah. I just think they were so dead that they're coming up now. Like that play, it's almost at $1. I think it started at like 20 cents this morning. All right, you had that little pullback, still holding. Watch energy via low on the high. I haven't looked at any currencies. Canada is doing good. Euro, oil's chilling. Mexico's up 1% and going. JD on the high right now. Is everyone forgetting the deadline Trump gave? Kind of. And, I mean, again, so do you guys hear everybody? Everybody keeps saying China will fight to the death. There was literally a rumor last night. It was some blog, and they put out potential China retaliation, and that was one of the quotes. They said China is going to fight to the death. But surprisingly, I think because of all the fear, in a weird way, just to get some relief, the market chose, or everybody, the media, call it whatever you want, chose to focus on Japan and South Korea and chose to focus on the good negotiation finally, because we have ignored that. We ignored Vietnam, Taiwan, any of the good ones, but surprisingly today, we took that as positive, and the China stuff is still negative. I think that's still circling, but for now, today is we're opting for relief. But that's why I'm saying just don't make up your mind yet, in the sense that you're not out of the woods, and yeah, anything can reverse. Or again, the data could change things as well. Well, it's not even only listen to the good news. I mean, and this is where I hope I could help you guys. You need to understand nobody knows what's going on right now. That's what I'm saying. Everybody is like trying to cling to certainty and find an answer, but you just got real volatility now. Because the other days we ignored some of the good news and only reacted to bad. Now today you're ignoring the good news or the bad news and then focusing on this little sliver of good news, and now you're up 4% after dropping 10%, 15% in the last 3 days. So we're just moving around. I wouldn't say, again, a little bit of relief, understand what's driving it, but remember, things can quickly change. U.S. and Singapore discussed economic growth in both countries. I mean, yesterday it didn't help. We had that weird little rumor, too. All right, SPY's still holding, bonds too, but I mean, you're at this 3%, 3.6. Okay, high ticker getting another boost again. What time is it, actually? Let's get a market checkup. I think everything's in the green, though. It has to be. Yeah, 487 names in the green, 16 in the red, and most of them are like healthcare drug losers, a couple of staples. So, yeah, 487 green. Dow Jones, every name is green. Not one name on the Dow is red right now. All 30 are green. And then NASDAQ 100, 99 names green. One name in the red, Pinduoduo, and then Excellion is break even. Yeah, everything is green. So you either have room to keep doing this, or this is just going to fade. They're still mad expensive. That's the crazy part of all this. NAOV, yeah, that was that small cap runner. A Lil Footman, welcome. I don't know what that name implies. But welcome. Glad to have you, man. Glad to have you. State newsroom correspondent tweets Speaker Johnson, the plan is to bring budget resolution to the floor tomorrow. Okay, Boeing's running. That's the one that got away from me. See, I got the puts yesterday. I thought the calls were going to lag, but that one, all the calls went up. So I whiffed on that. Apple's going, though. Okay, watch if TLT breaks here as well. Keep an eye on dollar, any other currencies, but pretty much 4-2 on the NASDAQ, 3-7. You have about 99% of the market in the green. I'm looking at some puts right now, and I like them, but I don't. I'm telling, bro, even to be $20 out of the money, you're going to spend $200. That's insanity. So I have these plays that I'm looking at, and I have like a sweet spot, but my price is like 30 cents. 50 cents, and they're going for $200. Microsoft data breach. I don't have that, but Chad's saying that. See, Burlington on the high too. Again, that's one of the Vietnam plays. Where's Bitcoin? Watch Bowen though. I like that. If Xi visits Vietnam and Cambodia, could that pour cold water? No, because as long as they have a deal with us for zero, that's it. That's all that matters. And like I was saying just last week when we heard about Vietnam, you're already getting places in Asia to cave. So that's good because then that means it's going to be harder for China to try to retaliate. Because now if China wants to play hardball, anybody could just go to Vietnam now and have a great deal with America. Santander is said to weigh options for $8 billion stake in Polish unit. Check Stellantis. I think they're selling off a unit. Can China build factories in Vietnam and bypass the tariffs? I mean, yeah, and that's, I don't know. I think that's, I've heard a lot of people talk about like, oh, you're not going to build a factory, but I don't think it really has to do with that. Oh, it has to do with the peach. That's all that matters. Ladies and gentlemen, we got a peach factory. That's what we got. No. Happened, yeah. My mic went down to 0. No, it hit the slider. I was just getting hyped. My bad. Yeah, I was saying the peach. No import tariffs on there. Oh man. Thank you, Bradley Frizzle. God bless. I know I got too hyped. Spy's still going up too. Spy's still hyped. But I was gonna tell you, like the whole Vietnam China thing. I don't know why everybody's assuming it has to do with like factory production. Come on. What happened? Humor me. What happened with Russia and Ukraine and then Russian oil? Let me ask you this. Did India become a oil driller all of a sudden in the last 4 years? Yeah, bro, you're ripping. Q's on the low. Yeah, they were just taking the Russian oil send it to India, load it up from India, you sell it anywhere you want. It's no longer Russian oil. Ta-da! Welcome to tariffs in Asia. So, yeah, if they want to go and be heavy on the whole country of origin thing, yeah, but if they have a good deal with, like, Vietnam, I wouldn't be surprised if people just move a lot of shit through Vietnam and then do it, because that's what they've been doing. That's why I told you the Vietnam thing was such a big deal, because I know people who have been doing a lot of business there. And that's why I was like, okay, so now if they have tariffs, that's not good. But then also they have their own thing. MTG buy? I don't know what that means unless that's like a fun. Oh, Marjorie Taylor Greene? Politician buy. I was like, who's MTG? I know a MLG, the Major League game, a Halo 2. I don't MTG. I know MSG. And not good MSG. Yeah, she bought the tariff dip. I flipped those yesterday. Those RH contracts, some of them are terrible. But then if you get the right ones that move, those hit. Oh, crowd on the high. Oh, where's dude, Core Weave. Remember that one? Yes, Magic the Gathering. That could be MTG. All right, SPY still holding SAP. That's European. Watch out for that. Palo Alto and a couple others going up there. Besant to meet Republican study committee tomorrow. Arquite, I like it, but I don't know if I would buy it. So I'm going to own it because of Redfin is going to switch there, and I'll hold that, but I don't think I'd go out of my way to buy it. TLT premium's messed up. No, just TLT. But I think the bonds have a lot going on. Again, yesterday was a historic day, and I think even the next couple days and weeks in bonds, there's going to be a lot of confusion, and I think a lot of people are trying to figure out why, but I would just realize that bonds are moving extremely abnormal. This is not a normal bond move. This doesn't happen every day, and that's the thing that matters there. But other than that, I just think the bonds are kind of lagging. It's nothing to do with premium, but everywhere around the market right now, premiums are elevated just because of the volatility and moves we've got. Check GM. Hold on, you're getting a candle here at the high, but autos are moving with it. So, yeah, GM just popped 10 cents. Tesla, Stellantis, I think, too. Yeah, a little bit. U.S. Scalise, not looking for tax increases. Again, you just had the Besant comment. How can you be up this much in calls BB? It's because they're scammers. And I truly mean that. And that's why I have been trying to warn you guys at various points. You know, so if you were too far out of the money, even though you could have predicted a 4% bounce, your play probably lost. Because I bought plays today for cheaper. So I waited till this bounce, and I FOMO'd into plays that were already up. And they're barely moving. So I have a play. I already caught one today. I only made money on one of them. The other one, plays already moved up 1%. My option only went up by 1%. It's nothing. But yeah, like that's why when I keep explaining, like you have to remember the other day, and I'm just like yelling out, and I'm telling you, I'm like, dude, they're making up prices. You guys remember that? And I'm literally just being like, I'm like, bro, they're making up prices. Because I was up when I was down and down when I was up. And then I'd be up, and then it would just flip-flop. And then, again, like I say, GM, bro, something with autos. Scalise, we're not looking for tax increases. We're looking to lock in current rates. So there's not a tax increase. You don't have a REIT in your big long term. Do you think UWMC is good at this price? Do you know UWMC is not a REIT? So we'll just start there if you and then we'll circle back. So yeah, just be careful. And then any REITs, I'd wait till bonds stabilize. Anything related to real estate, I would wait till stabilization of bonds. But that's not a REIT. India Commerce Minister Goyal aims to hit $100 million in non-oil trade with Dubai. Okay, you're coming. I think something's happening in autos, you guys. Because I'm watching Rivian, Tesla, GM, all tweaking right now. I think it's something in auto land. I hate every play today. Because I'm scared. Because I'm like, okay, these calls are cheap now, but I'm like, wait a minute, it's not going to fucking move. So yeah, I don't know, but I want to autoplay. Look at GM. That's going both ways. The range is too large, my brethren. Yeah, there's no way you could do this. I'm going to try one, but it's mad expensive. RIME. TN Ford. Nice. Offshore yuan falls to weakest on record. Oh, no. Yeah, I heard that theory the other day, and I kind of agree with it. That's another thing with the bonds. So everyone's kind of trying to bring up the China shit, but be careful. Long story short, bro, if China starts weakening their currency, and then again, look at GM. But then if they start weakening their currency, but they do it too much, what's going to happen next? See, again, there's so many things right now. Yeti on the high. Remember that one? Remember people loved Yeti? That thing's running. Well, Tesla both ways. So I just try to straddle on a play right now. And I'm going to see where it leads, but it's too expensive. Andreessen Horowitz seeking $20 billion for its largest ever fund. And then the Chinese embassy in India were facing U.S. abuse of tariffs. China and India should stand together to overcome difficulties. And then Greer, Trump admin is open to ideas from other countries to achieve reciprocal trade. VIX tanking. There's a lot of hangover. All right, wind's moving up too. But yeah, there's still a lot of hangover there. I'm watching it play though. I have an idea. I want to see if we could kind of shake out of this, but if we don't, I mean, I think there's going to be no place today unless we get like a random news pop, you know. But you're starting to move a little aggressive. Again, you got India, China headline, Trade Representative Greer, and I think there's a couple more. There's one more event. Oh, yeah, but long story short, if China devalues their currency, that's what's going to set off TLT. Because now if China weakens too much, you have to realize the capital flies back to the dollar. If China destroys their currency like 2015, that's not going to be as good as you think. It would add pressure, but yeah, that would be the problem. Santander said two-way options for $8 billion push. Greer will work with India to address intellectual property and barriers. So hold on, this might be India news now. Do you see what I'm saying? I don't know if we've heard about that, but Greer is talking about working with India. So see how the market takes that. Even though China just is trying to say we're not doing it. In Greer, China made significant changes early in phase one trade deal, but did not comply in large part. I think China, again, the rumor is that they're going to hit us back with agriculture. So watch out for that. High reciprocal tariffs will go into effect tomorrow, says Greer. All right, everything's starting to slow, and what do you have it? Bonds are not doing shit. So again, TLT practically just holding here, even though we've gotten a little bit above. All right, you're getting reds there. You're getting India headlines talking about tariffs coming into play tomorrow. China just is trying to work with India. But and then again, and it's all off of relief that isn't necessarily the biggest. Okay, Tesla's coming down. Everything's starting to come down, even Bitcoin. Greer, about 50 countries are speaking, says many countries have said they won't retaliate and some have already lowered tariffs. All right, man, you're starting to dump. I don't know if it's the Greer headlines or India, China. It's one or the other. And again, it's not like our relief was based off of, again, it's not like this relief was solid. China has indicated it wants to work towards reciprocity. Or China has not indicated. I read that wrong. Not indicated. That's not good. So now he's saying China is bad. Just be careful on that one. Because like I'm saying, I think that's a little shaky. You're getting your movements on headlines, but I'm just telling you now, even the way up was shaky too. So just be careful. South Korea acting president hopes to further strengthen and expand alliance with U.S. That's good. So again, you're juggling right now. We got a couple of things happening in real time. Again, India, China, India trade minister talks with U.S. bilateral going the right direction. So literally, that's straight now from India trade minister literally saying we're going in the right direction. That's a good headline. So again, Greer, that's not good, and then that's it. Don't spread the fake news. The market pumped when I read that wrong. I'm just going to ban you. I'm not spreading any fake news. Fuck you. Okay, thank you. If you're going to criticize me, make it constructive and helpful, not a terrible joke. Everybody's been informed accurately. Even yesterday, people were putting out that fake rumor. Not me. I just made money. So yeah. Greer sees distinct difference between China and other countries that are seeking to negotiate. So again, you got Greer, juggle that now. India trade minister, that's the other one. Ain't no way it's okay. I get paid $5 for every one, so I'm happy. I have no problem. If you want to pay me $5 to come in my chat and then say some dumb shit, that's totally fine with me. I am paid for it, and that's it works. It works for everybody. So you could try it again. Feel free. It's just going to cost you, and I hope you can make the most out of it. Discussions on bilateral going in right direction. Greer, I see a distinct difference between China and other countries that are seeking to negotiate. So, yeah, that doesn't sound good with Greer, but I think the India stuff is good, like I said the first time. Okay, I don't know. I wish I could help you guys. Premiums are fucked. Everything's already, again, you're shaky on the upside, but I'm telling you, half of this news right now is good, the other half is bad. I don't know what to tell you. I think good news with China and India, or India and US, and then the Greer, everything he's saying about China, and then mix it in with the bad news from yesterday. I don't think any of that stuff's good. So, yeah, and then gold is climbing. But yeah, that one's 50-50, bro. I don't know. I wish I could help you. Yeah, I think we might just have to wait. Okay, now Tesla. What's going? Because again, Tesla, I think something with autos. We have March. Woo! We got a great community, man. We got a great community. You get a long term, bro. You lock in. I can't wait for you to get a house one day, and then you buy me one. Woo! Tesla. You have 3 Tesla calls? Nice. How many call-outs do you have? Oh! Whoa! Oh! That's so weird. There's none. 0 call-outs. 0 call-outs. We're so packed. That Dorias. Welcome, baby. Thank you, my friend. Woo. Any reason on why the yields are higher? Thousands. You could have, there's a lot of lore on the bonds right now. And I think you could have good answers and bad ones, but as weird as it sounds, Watchlist will tell all of everything. I don't think it matters. Nothing matters except for recognizing the opportunity. I love you, Buck Fo Jiden. Thank you. Thank you. And what's that, Duchesi? You want to say my knowledge is good, man? You're the best? Well, thank you, man. I appreciate it. And that's why y'all need a long term, even if the market looks like this. Because watch. The recent video is 1 month old. No, it's there, man. I'm sure you know how to use technology. Stop playing with me. That's it. I think my dad can find my YouTube videos. If he can find it, you can find it. You know what I'm saying? You know, to go to videos. You got tech, bro. You know how to use it. Hey, man. All right, core, fast. A couple of random names on the high ticker. Again, you're right now in the last 5 minutes. We are going between news from Greer and then news from India. So it's both good and bad right now, juggling catalytic cracker Venezuela's Al Petito refinery to restart after 11 months suspended. All right, watch if bonds, honestly, wait, because in a weird way, they both moved up now. See if we get a bonds down, SPY down. That'll be interesting. And then Ross on the high, a couple of those clothing ones. I did see who was on the low. Estee Lauder. Yeah. Damn, they're still green, though. But that was just selling. Put Preem. Some names are staying pinned, though. Oh, I forgot about that one. With Tessie. Tessie loves to stay pinned. Why not sell options? You could. I might do it, actually. My only warning is just make sure you don't sell anything too much of a range. You say long-term, is that a long-term portfolio? Yes. I made a video updating that at the beginning of the year if you go to the Trading Fraternity on YouTube, but long-term is an account where we hold stocks for 10 years minimum. That's it. Where'd my chat go? Cody. Thank you, friend. And good morning. Selling is not a bad idea, right? I said it last night. That's why. And then again, you're up 4%. But I think Goldman or Morgan Stanley was talking about that too. Because right now it's hard with the options. Premiums are high. So if you want to take advantage of like scaling in with like an appropriate risk, you get some tighter sell puts. You'll be great. Core weave lows. Alrighty. I don't have any bars for you. Shout out Mr. Hits, baby. And
analyst estimate.
I'm going to go to the bathroom.
It was also
follow me on Instagram at the Trading
$30
Fraternity.
which is also
I need a
higher
carbo.
than estimates. So this is really welcome news for investors because Walgreens, after all, is the second largest U.S. pharmacy chain, and its value has really just decreased the past decade.
What's the story with Blackstone? We were talking yesterday about how deals are dead, but not all deals, right?
Not all deals. We see Blackstone edging higher by around 4%. Citizens upgraded the private equity firm to market outperform from market perform, along with its peers Ares and Evercore. So Citizens analyst Devin Ryan says that these three stocks look more compelling relative to their long-term earnings power, and that's following the recent massive sell-off. He adds that uncertainty is, quote, poison for financial services businesses. And of course, Ares is up around 4%, Evercore up around 6%.
I thought you were going to say Blackstone is up because it's selling its a healthcare business to Bain Capital.
It could be
according
because of
to
that
the FT.
too.
According to the FT.
We do have that crossing the wires too, but we also have this one.
The
multiple things can move a stock.
We'll keep an eye on this. I do want to mention Janus Henderson really quickly. Shares up about 7%. It's kind of a deal. They're partnering with Guardian. They're going to become Guardian's investment-grade public fixed income asset manager for a $45 billion portfolio. So you can see Janus popping quite a bit on the heels of that news. But let's talk about jeans because Levi's has had a really interesting move today. It was up 16% after earnings, but clearly that's come in a bit, Isabel.
But it's still up by 1%. This was really massive and notable because the firm maintained its full-year outlook, and they excluded the impact from the sweeping U.S. tariffs. And this is notable because usually companies have said that tariffs will affect the cost of clothing, but we have Levi's saying that it assumes no significant worsening.
But they're just ignoring it?
For now, and they also said that tariffs
They're like, we're putting our heads in the sand for now.
There is a reason. They said tariffs will have, quote, a minimal impact because most of their spring and summer collection are already in the U.S. So there is that. So when you shop, know that they've been sitting in the bodega or whatever room they store that in. But we have the CFO, though, saying that it's difficult to forecast this, and which is why you see, I think, JP Morgan raised Levi's to overweight, but we have Stifel and Telsley downgrading the stock. So
Love
mixed
good
reactions.
guys. Anyways, Isabel, thank you so very much. That is Isabel Lee of Bloomberg News. Now, coming up, the U.S. and China are not flinching as tariff tensions escalate. We're going to bring you in now.
Again, more. Greer, price challenge from Trump's tariffs will affect companies that are largely dependent on imports from China and Asia. Dude, where Greer has said a lot, and that we've gotten baby reactions off of that. So that's just the weird part of today. I don't know where he's speaking. And then, like I'm saying, you have the India stuff, but quite frankly, you haven't really moved out of it. You're moving, but you're not moving. And then Greer has pretty much brought TLT up. That's it. We started the long term with $500 on the small account and then added $200 a month till we got up to $300. And then the big account, I think we started with $2,000. And then we did $2,000 a month until we raised it. I'm trying to find Greer. I want to see, but let's see if we actually go to VWAP and break down, see if you get a new range on the SPY, or if we go back to open and then a new range on the bonds. That's what you want to look at. We're good. Today's at least some relief, but I think the challenge of today is making sure people don't make up their mind. That's it, because I think a lot of people want this to be the bounce. They want it to be the bottom. Some people want this to just buy puts to whatever, but we're at the end of the day, I think we're waiting on something else. I think we're waiting on any of the trade updates. So we'll see. All right, you're going lower. All right, and bonds higher. So we'll see if it does the opposite. Trump is speaking about coal. today. That is the executive order that we have on the schedule today. I mean, I think you need a new development. If that India news comes out, that'll be a good driver. More, again, if China retaliates with agriculture, we're taking a leg down. And then if nothing happens, you're going to be just in an awkward middle. Greer, the best way to have pricing certainty is to build products in the U.S. Oh, yeah, we got to listen to this shit, bro. I think this is it. This is what's driving it.
And we're going to have to stay on it, which is why...
So, yeah, you're going down. Literally, the only headlines has been either Greer or India, and the India stuff has been good.
In making these very
again, bonds breaking out, SPY just back to open. So this whole hour, all it did was bring bonds up by half. Meanwhile, SPY is now unchanged.
And appreciate the focus right now on this. Let me come from a perspective of a lot of Oklahoma farmers and ranchers and manufacturing folks and retail folks. And quite frankly, folks that sell to retailers that are in Oklahoma.
Sign bomb.
They've got several questions.
Lutnick to meet on Tuesday.
Quickly, so I want to be able to.
Okay, that's another set of news. So literally, you're dumping now. Mexico is meeting with Lutnick today. That's just coming out.
Or produce here and sell more internationally, and that we would have that opportunity to have increased market access. Is that correct?
So, Senator, I think that's accurate, because when we're trying to get down a deficit and have more production here, necessarily part of it is making sure we're not getting too many imports that are driven by unfair trade practices, but also promoting our exports overseas.
So
again, this is Greer.
Right now, there's a lot of negotiations.
Not him.
Going on.
That
There's
guy.
A lot of questions for several days whether we're negotiating.
Doesn't like
or not
garlic.
Negotiating. I'm hearing from you pretty clearly today. We are
no, that's
open
the
to
other guy.
negotiate. We're trying to be able to establish better trade agreements to be able to move forward. Do you have any timeline?
TOT's starting to move now. I mean, look at this. Now we're finally moving, though.
Internally,
I wouldn't freak out till you hit the low end. You're giving up the 4%, but then see where bonds go.
As long as they have to, but is there a timeline you're dealing with?
So the president has indicated that he's willing to negotiate with parties that want to pursue reciprocal trade with the United States. We don't have any particular timeline set on that because, as you pointed out, Senator, the outcome is more important than setting something artificially for us. What I can say is I'm moving as quickly as possible.
I don't know if this is the news drop yet.
Very quickly, and
so you're still up
on the weekends.
But just wait if we get a breaking news that's like really changes things.
Now I will say,
I think everybody's just juggling right now.
There's
a lot going on. There's a lot of different headlines. You know, we're getting info from now Mexico to China to India
says that well,
to
and
this.
Everyone that I talked to is grateful that we're actually attacking the trade deficit issue and try to be able to bring down barriers to trade. They also want to get a timeline. Let me give you, for instance, I've got an Oklahoma company that several years ago spent millions of dollars to be able to move out of China. They moved into Vietnam for production because literally there was what they're producing, the parts were not created in America. So they were looking for other places to go. They spent all the money, spent all the time, shifted out of China, got to Vietnam and established there. Now they're saying we've got giant costs in Vietnam at this point. So they're going to have to renegotiate with every single retailer that they sell to, which is going to take a lot of time to be able to do it. What they're trying to be able to figure out
Okay, low ticker volume picking up. Bond ETFs. TLT to IEF are all going up now. Again, they're still red. They have a long way to go. So it doesn't really mean much. But again, think that idea from the morning.
They're not going to get resolved. They're going to have to renegotiate every contract.
Scheinbaum, most automakers in Mexico are not planning changes yet.
Senator, I understand completely. And Vietnam is one of those countries that understands that it is, frankly, one of the major targets of this action because their trade
Starmer sees questions about appropriate way to tax digital. Okay, that's another one. So again, that's Starmer is UK. Do you guys not realize it now? We're getting a barrage of everything. So you have Greer talking, trade guy in front of Congress. You had a statement from India talking about a potential trade deal. Now you have Scheinbaum from Mexico talking. UK Starmer is now talking. And then there's one more I think I'm missing. So, yeah, but that's all happening in this, 10, 15-minute window as we are getting these little movements.
Another issue has come up about garment manufacturing. Obviously, this is a challenge. They'll have different pieces that are bought from different countries. we don't have a lot of garment manufacturing here in the United States. For those garment manufacturers that are here and for others, some in Oklahoma, they're asking me about exclusions and exceptions.
Okay, Vix. Okay,
be handled to
listen,
say,
exemption
we
question.
Can't buy it in America. This is the only place that's actually manufacturing it.
Okay, VIX is running.
The hope is
bonds are lagging a little bit. SPY's moving way more now.
In the short term, they don't have another option. How do you plan to handle that?
Senator, the president has been clear with me and with others that he does not intend to have exclusions and exemptions, especially given the nature of the action. If you have Swiss cheese in the action, it can undermine the overall point, which is to get rid of the deficit.
Scheinbach and Ebert to meet Commerce Secretary Lutnick Tuesday.
The Western Hemisphere countries have
majority of directors at auto plants said as of now they have no plans to move their factories.
For many years that they would love to
so
have
China.
A situation where Western Hemisphere.
I don't think that's a good part. Watch out for that. If Mexico starts playing hardball, that's not going to be good. Because remember what I was telling you guys a couple days ago, the China stuff's bad, EU is bad, but as long as you have Mexico and Canada, remember that saves a lot. But if they turn into a problem, everything you think is bad gets a lot worse. So watch out for that. But now you have Mexico in the mix. We haven't really heard from them in the last couple days.
My own sense is given the tariff differentials between Asia and Western Hemisphere, I think people can start making decisions based on that.
Yeah, look, Mexico already gave up 0.5%. Yeah.
Thanks,
so that's part of today.
For being here. Just to sort of frame our conversation, tell me what a negative externality is.
This is something you and I like to talk about.
Yes, we do.
This is a situation where you have a foreign country.
Yeah,
where,
so look at
perhaps
you just heard it like a minute ago. It's hitting the wire in red. Trump is clear that he will not do tariff exemption in the near term. That was the question right before this. So again, the market's also digesting that as well.
Lax regulatory regimes. They send it here, and we end up bearing this. They externalize these negative externalities to us, and we have to bear it, and our workers have to bear it, and we don't compete on a level playing field.
So two things are wrong with this. One, the customary negative externality is pollution. And to the extent,
UVXY now. SPY is getting into the lower candles. This is after the first little. It's not that bad yet, honestly. You're just like back to normal.
In our oceans. Now it's in our drinking water. It's in breast milk. I mean, we've really gone down a very weird pathway with respect to plastics. If China, for instance, is responsible for dumping 60 or 70% of the plastics into the Pacific, then that's a harm to us, correct?
Yes, I agree.
Because it's a commons, the ocean, and we suffer from that. And then if the Chinese company is exporting their goods to the U.S., and that Chinese company has a lower cost for its product because it doesn't have proper pollution control with respect to plastic, and the U.S. company does, then that's an unfair trade imbalance, correct?
Oh, Baba down?
So two things are wrong.
I haven't even looked at any China names. Let's just throw a K-Web up here. K-Web's still in the green.
Allowing pollution that our companies pay to prevent.
All right, yeah, Yang is on the high. Again, China still has cushion for today.
That's an appropriate place for tariffs to be deployed to offset that trade imbalance and help protect the commons from this particular tragedy, correct?
I think trade action can be appropriate, and when the president announced his reciprocal tariff regime last Wednesday, he specifically referred to pollution by other countries in his speech. You may not have listened to it, but you may want to go back and listen to that part, because that's very true. And I agree.
He said you didn't watch the watch list.
Might be the only
that's what he said.
In which the administration shows
you might want to go back and watch
pollution, it. So good for that. The issue of plastics.
That's what he said. That's what he said.
A pretty significant one. Again, there's been a lot of bipartisan interest.
It was weird. You didn't hear that? It was on the watch list. It's fully on the watch list.
One of my bills signed by the president, and he gave a very.
All right, I think you freak out 519. One more point lower, or at least that would change some of this. It's not that bad though, honestly. I just think we got a lot we're digesting, and then I think bonds need to kind of fight back a little bit, but that's it.
I hope this is an area we can continue to work together, and in particular, I hope that you'll sit down with me and Senator Cassidy on legislation that we are working on. Will you give us that meeting?
Senator, I'll take any meeting with you that you would like to talk about this issue, and I'd like to
we'll
let
sit
you
down with Senator Cassidy's team and have a conversation there. The other thing I wanted to flag for you is that you pretty well successfully deflected all of Senator Bennett's questions about what the immediate impact looks like in the short-term pain for the long-term gain. I just want to flag for you one issue that is very important to me.
Pocket
Rhode
moves
Island
insane.
is a small business state, right? We don't have a whole lot of big mega corporations there who can balance things and move things around.
All right,
Canada is our largest trading partner.
We're getting to the low
we
end.
have companies who fill an important niche.
This is crazy.
In the global supply
Because
chain.
this is still like kind of small, but I thought we would have done this like 3 hours in the day.
Something from
So I still
Canada,
think you could kind of bounce off of it, but now you are already kind of selling this news pretty early.
That thing, and then they put it into the supply chain for the larger corporate entities. That's their business. That's all they've got. So
okay, VIX is now up. VIX still below 40. VIX heavy red.
That are actually going to have to lock their doors and close.
I mean, you just dropped 4 points though. From here, TLT is almost green now, 0.01.
I think you've missed a huge hole in the problem that these tariffs have created.
ASML.
If all you're listening to is the big mega corporations who can move things around the world and have the resources to dodge these effects. You're not getting the straight story. I think in every one of our states, there are going to be small businesses.
All right, chips starting to go.
Trade is an important factor.
But yeah, look at the low ticker, man. Everything. You had 99 names green, so I don't know what you wanted. Morgan Stanley cuts Robinhood to equal weight from overweight. Target to 40 from 90.
Senator, I've talked to you about this. I've talked to Senator Hassan about this and others. One thing I asked my team to do last week was to convene a meeting of.
Meanwhile, Boeing's just killing it.
For small business, I've asked them to convene that meeting. I've connected with the Small Business Administration. They have an international trade desk there. I've talked to I have an office.
Zivsvra, whatever that is. All right, man, you're in the danger zone of the intraday because then if we break below here, this chart will start going south.
Things coming from Canada, Mexico.
If you could hold and bounce, it'll just look like a cuck day. But yeah,
so if they follow the rules, if they don't follow the rules and are trying to put in Chinese stuff, that's going to be tariffed. But if they follow the rules, they're going to be getting the duty-free treatment they're due.
Well, a small business that has gone broke is not very amenable to a meeting. They don't exist any longer.
Senator Hassan.
What?
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Ranking Member. Good morning, Ambassador Greer. Thank you for being here. Before I start with a couple of additional questions about the impact of these tariffs, I want to associate myself with Senator Whitehouse's comments just now about the impact on our small businesses, particularly those who are critical parts of supply chains for some of our larger corporations in the country. As you know, Canada is our biggest trading partner too, and we are already seeing the impact of these tariffs with our small businesses, especially in our tourism industry, which is being decimated because Canadians are not coming down to New Hampshire the way they usually do. Let me ask you about a couple of
the Chinese currency is weakening on all of this.
Have made almost everything that families buy.
Bro, from 749, 739.
10% national sales
bro,
tax
that's the
on
answer.
All imports into our country.
Look.
And an even higher sales tax on imports from
So it was like right before, but then I don't know, the market started dumping earlier. The yuan ran up before, but yeah.
And it's going to cost the average American family.
That makes sense to what I told you even with TLT.
Their morning cup of coffee.
Because like I'm telling you, people think that our bonds are broken, but no, because watch, if China weakens too much, all the Asian money's coming to U.S. But yeah, in a weird way, China, you might have bad China brewing right now. Literally,
so Senator,
the yuan right now is big.
Revenue that comes in.
I know the dollar's moving, but the yuan is key, and yuan is one of the biggest movers right now.
What happens to that money? Obviously, the president wants to have a very competitive tax policy that's good for everybody. That was part of why he had such a successful economy in the first term, is he married trade action with good tax policy to have $7,000 an increase in real wages over that time.
Well, let's be really clear. The president, besides that,
that's
contradictions.
Listen, you guys, all of this, we knew we were kind of shaky on just the sentiment rally, right? And then We just started getting all these comments, and now we're noticing China's getting bad right now. So here's the deal. If the Chinese currency fades, this could all fade. If we get one good comment, this could all fade. Again, you're still up 3%. So until we actually start watching some of these other things, just be mindful. This is just large movement in a large day. There's a couple of now juggling pieces that you got to be aware of, okay? I hope you are. I hope you're aware. Okay, now danger zone. You've hit the low, but now you have like a whole set of danger zones. It's 5,200. So now we're back into yesterday's, sadly, the high end. You'll probably go to 5111 or you'll bounce off like 5170.
This trade deficit.
So we either go 25 points and bounce, or you go down like 100 points. Yeah, TLTs.
I understand.
You have 30% on TLT from the morning. Like the watch list told you, there's a very simple strategy you could do.
My question is, what's the inflation rate?
79-year-old mom is cancer-free?
10% inflation that I just asked you about.
Bro.
Higher inflation than
wow, that's amazing, bro. I know you've been going through that. I love to hear that.
But you aren't going to say...
Congrats, bro. Tell mama good work. That's dope, bro. That's hella dope.
Inflation we saw was during the Biden administration. When we did tariffs in the first term, inflation went down. I just don't. It's not going to be a one-to-one. Inflation about how much money you're putting into the supply.
Well, let's just be really clear that the Trump administration is here today to say that even if inflation hits Americans' pocketbooks at 10% because of these tariffs, then the Trump administration is still going to go charging ahead. So, Ambassador, would the administration reverse course?
Something on Security Council and Putin. That's coming out now, too.
Which would hurt Americans' retirement savings even more than they've been hurt in the last 10 days or so.
Okay, watch out. You're going lower, man.
The fundamentals of the economy.
Unfortunately, it's just there's just a lot of things. I think it's China secretly. I think we ignored China from last night to this morning. Focused on the other stuff. He started talking negative on China, but then that's it. Then you had the India stuff. Like I'm telling you, look, this isn't over. This didn't really mean anything yet. We just have a lot of pressure right now from these random ass headlines, but there's still so much room, okay? But yeah, I think it's all China. I think if China gets better or worse in the next couple of hours, I think that'll really determine where we close and if we gap down, gap up, all that good stuff. So we'll see.
They are going to have, or whether they're going to be able to retire.
And then bonds chilling.
Because of the recklessness and
after hitting that high going green, again, they went 30% to 15%.
Nothing was thought out about this. This has been a haphazard, incompetent effort, and it's showing. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Senator Cassidy.
Hi, Mr. Greer. Thank you for being here. When I speak to my rice people and my shrimp people back home, they say that the tariff barriers and the subsidies by other countries.
How am I up 30?
For those products are so much.
Bottom at 20 and then they went up to 30.
Some of our shrimpers and some of our.
So I guess I was up 50% at one point.
Incredible financial binds.
But yeah, it's not that great. I bought them this morning.
Is attempting to address these as well as the non-tariff trade barriers is incredibly important. Let me first say that. But I also hear from my producers that the mean tariff being selected.
Okay, there's your first little bounce.
May not account that for rice, for example, the tariff is much higher for that particular product, and that it is not adequate to address that which is taking place.
Okay, look, you're getting the again bounce, bonds down. So this will be another point, and then we'll see where it takes us.
Yes, thank you. And
you haven't had a bad headline in a little bit, but again, we just went through a lot in this last hour.
Countries, again, was a countrywide rate. It wasn't product specific. My sense is if countries come to us and they expect to have some kind of a different plan, they will need to change these things, right? And they will have specific products, specific barriers that they would have to address. Right, or else, the president, again, he's fixed his purpose. He wants to see production back here. He wants to see our agriculture producers doing well. And these countries just have to have reciprocal trade with us. And that means taking care of the types of barriers and tariff rates you're talking about.
So it sounds like you, one of the things I think they want to know is that since shrimp might be a relatively small part of trades with some of these countries, that the interests of, for example, shrimp will not be sacrificed in part of a greater whole.
No, I think, and I saw a really interesting article today in the New York Times on shrimp. You may have seen that, where the tariffs have actually given a bit of a lifeline to these shrimpers. And I think that
you got Boeing delivery
if there's
numbers.
Going to be any kind of change to any of this, and I'm not
biggest monthly
that,
total of
we
the
have to
year.
Make sure that our industries are protected adequately, so we don't go backwards with the deficit.
Let me ask, in the Americas. In the President's America
Okay,
First
you got
trading
another
policy,
red.
several sections
Honestly, that just slashed bonds more,
and
but
how they will be
let's just get out of
evaluated.
here and see
Senator
what
Bennett
headline
and
we
I
get.
are working on an
Be
America's
flexible.
Act, which would be a hemispheric trade policy, which would have several
Remember,
purposes.
any of these
One, to
moves are
strengthen
still
those
up
ties.
3.5%.
Secondly, to keep the
That's
Chinese
why I'm
from
saying
making
you got to be
incursions that they're
flexible.
absolutely making
Not
throughout the
everything is
hemisphere.
caused off of
Some are
something.
calling the
We just have a
Caribbean
wide
the
range
Chinese
now.
Lake. And so this would allow us to push back upon that. Can you share anything regarding the analyses of the free trade agreements we have within our hemisphere, and then specifically on countries like Argentina who would like an FTA with our country?
Certainly, I would say that we are first and foremost focused on addressing this emergency and the reciprocal tariff action and implementing it appropriately. With respect to relations in the hemisphere, any kind of trade arrangements with these trading partners, I think, need to be coupled with strong rules about third countries. What I don't want is a situation where these countries are using, their export platforms to incorporate content and goods from, China or other Asian countries, where we have a real issue with our deficit and offshoring of manufacturing. I would expect any kind of changes to these arrangements to be accompanied by changes in rules of origin to ensure that the United States and U.S. workers are really benefiting from these agreements.
Rules of origin. That's what I was telling you. If they do that, then you can't circumvent it.
Circumvent the intent of the FTA is the concern of the administration.
Remember, I was just telling you,
that's
just take the shit
concern. And
and
again,
move
the
it through
president wants to see
Vietnam.
factories back
So
here.
if
The
they
most
make
certain
it
way to
based
not have
off
a tariff is to
origin, you
build
can't do
factory
that.
in the United States.
Imagine if they
people
did
wanna
that
use
with
other
oil.
countries and insist on that, then we want to make sure that they're not using that to arbitrage for higher tariff jurisdictions.
Yeah,
use them
well,
as
that's
an
very
unfair
good that he
export
clarified
platform.
Let me ask you this, Louisiana.
Because now you
has
know
some of
that
the
doesn't
largest
exist.
ports
It's
in the
more
nation by
aggressive.
tonnage. And all the commodities going from the Midwest flow through my state, going out to the world.
Again, it's
Earlier,
hitting the
USTR
wire clear, no exceptions.
Proposed imposing like $1 million for every vessel.
So the algo took that to say no exceptions, but that was about circumventing, which I think is hawkish, but still.
Then the $1 million would apply to all 50, not just to the ships that are built in China. Now, that would clearly impact a ship coming to the United States to offload. If you will, impact my ports and the ability
Kenya
of our goods
cuts
throughout the
rates to
nation move through the
10%.
Mississippi. Is USTR going to hang by that or considering modifying that? Can you kind of give us any idea about that?
So to address the lack of shipbuilding in the United States,
again,
USTR's
Greer,
proposed actions,
just Greer,
those
China
proposed
keeps hitting
actions,
the
there are
wire.
A series of potential remedies that could be used to incentivize shipbuilding in the U.S. They're not all going to be implemented. They're not all going to be stacked. We've asked for a lot of input, and we've had hearing on that. We've collected comments. We've reviewed it. I've met personally with certain stakeholders during that time period, and I think the president will look very carefully.
Okay, you just tweaked.
Sure
you were about to go up, and
the right
then
amount of
literally
time and the
low
right
ticker
incentive to create
flush,
shipbuilding here without
Amazon
impacting
and a
our
bunch of
commodity
others.
exports.
Okay, thank you. I yield.
And then materials. I don't know if it was off of that comment. It's something else.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ambassador, as
Again, you're at
USTR's chief of
5,200
staff
too.
in the first Trump administration, you oversaw the negotiation of the U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement, the USMCA, and the renegotiation of the Korea-U.S. free trade agreement,
The TLT 100. Bro,
President Trump signed.
I'm not going to tell
both
you.
of
Why haven't you
these
figured it
agreements.
out?
He
Just watch the
called
watch list.
The
Thank you.
USMCA a colossal victory, and Chorus a historic milestone. And yet, with President Trump's new blanket tariffs, he is ripping up these agreements with our allies that we negotiated with. Why would any country want to do business with us, much less negotiate?
That candle
a
was
trade
weird. That
deal
one
if
wasn't
we
really off
don't even
anything.
honor
Again, there was the no
our ongoing
exemption, and then Greer said something about China,
So,
but
Senator,
I think
we are
there's
the
something a little
consumer of
extra
last
right here.
resort. these
I don't know what that
countries
is.
have to sell here. They have, many of them, especially in Asia, have built their entire economies around exporting to us. They're very dependent on it, and that's part of why we have this huge trade deficit. With USMCA, those parties continue to enjoy duty-free treatment for many of the products that continue to comply with the rules that were set out 5 years ago. There's a big concern, Senator, that we did not have adequate other protections to stop the flow, particularly of like autos into the United States.
But there was a process for you to renegotiate that agreement this year. We talked about that in my office. Isn't that correct?
That's correct.
And it wasn't to do these blanket tariffs, correct?
What we have to address is an emergency, Senator.
That's true. And you should be honest.
Very choppy. Well, that's what I'm saying, bro. You guys don't see how bad this was, though, too? Because, look, you just dropped about 2% now. Nobody made money on that. Because you can't. They were. I got to put on a straddle, but it barely made anything. But yeah, like unfortunately, we gapped up too much now. Every other play got washed. You see what I'm saying? All your UVXY, VIX is still down by 15%. So unfortunately, yeah, you're getting escalation in some areas. It's calmer than the last couple of days, but now, like I'm saying though, just hear me out. Be nimble today. Be flexible. This all looks dramatic and all, but you just have a really fat range. You know what I'm saying? And that's what you got to watch out for. So just be very careful because I still don't think just on the way up, I wasn't sold on it, but on the way down, I'm not sold on it either. So again, we're getting a lot of headlines. We're juggling, but yeah, just be cautious. I mean, you might, there'll be a little window. We might be able to grab a play again. I already grabbed a couple. Some straddles are working, but now, and then the TLT from the morning, that hit. That idea worked, but other than that, maybe we just got to let some premiums burn down, and then maybe we'll have a shot later. But let's see.
Our industry of
so again, you just hit a new low, broke the range from the morning now. Bonds trying to go green, but they haven't yet.
Industry. Let me just say this. I'm kind of offended by your testimony today that says we must accept self-inflicted economic pain, and I quote you by saying, to become an economy based on producing real goods and services. What does that mean? What does that mean to my service industry and every service industry across this country that relies on tourism and travel? That is the backbone, really, of part of our $1 billion economy. What do I tell them? That they just have to suck it up? That they're not really part of this real services? That you have another idea for the jobs that they should engage in? What do I tell them?
Oh, Senator, of course those are real services. The whole,
so what are you doing about the impact
whole,
what are you doing about the impact of international tourism and now these blanket tariffs having a negative impact? What are you doing to address that?
The whole sentence, Senator, said that we need to get away from government spending as funding our economy and financialization, and we need to move to real goods and services, including the tourism you're talking about.
So what are you doing to impact the negative impact of tourism right now?
Okay, you're going lower.
One thing I'll say is we can't have the status quo, right? I keep hearing that we should have, essentially what I'm hearing is we
bro,
should
the Wire, listen, bro, honestly, every one of these lows, because we're listening to this live, the Wire just keeps reiterating old headlines. Any Greer headline on China, every time it gets reiterated, I see a red candle, but he said all of them like literally 2 minutes ago.
Big impact to our economy.
And then bonds stopped moving on this flush.
Senator,
so keep note of that.
All of these countries,
yeah, bonds started working on this drop, but right here,
sure that,
something kind of snapped.
Export services to other countries. A lot of those that we export are, we have
well, let
digital
me say I only have
services,
so much
all kinds
time,
of
and
trade.
apparently you're not. So here's what I would like, because you haven't thought about this, and the
Okay,
administration.
Yang, another low on
I haven't
China.
heard anybody talking about tourism.
Keep your eyes out on the
So why
wand.
don't you come talk to me in my office, and let's talk about and put a plan together, because these blanket tariffs are having an impact on tourism in my state and across the country.
Senator,
So
I'm happy to
instead
come
of
talk
just
to you.
defending it, why don't you just come sit down with
just
some
asked
of
him to
us and
defend
try
it.
to address the concerns that we are seeing and feeling in our states that this administration has not taken into account.
I'm happy to come speak with you. Thank you.
He's not happy to speak with her. He didn't even make eye contact.
Senator Grassley.
Ambassador Greer, thank you for being here. I made very
Okay,
clear
lower,
throughout
no
my
bond
public
reaction
service
again.
that I'm a free and fair
The yuan
trader.
hasn't even gone up. I just
The
think now this part is the
Constitution
market.
gives
This
Congress
isn't
the
as much
authority to
China
regulate
as it was
interstate
here.
Foreign commerce.
Okay, VIX on the high, Tesla selling, China's about to go negative now. Literally in the last 20 minutes, China has sold off 1%. Again, oil's coming down, Mexico, all the currencies gave up their gain. You're at 5183. So again, 5187 was the level, and then next level's 5150. Psycho! And then 5124, 5127. Okay, bonds starting to move now.
And other countries
okay, China mentioned.
Our farmers and manufacturers.
And farming.
In fact, even back in 2003, I sent a letter to the Chinese Minister of Commerce at that time pointing out China's failure to live up to its WTO obligations. And then I went further in 2018 when I was on Senator Daines' Codell. I told top Chinese leaders I made a mistake supporting China in the WTO. That's why during the first.
All right, another low. You've given up about 2% on the NASDAQ, about 1.8, 1.7 on the SPY.
China. At the time, I raised alarm
We're a little bit at
bells
fear, but like I'm saying, just be mindful. This is a fat gap. I mean, let me put it this way. If you were at this price yesterday by 8:13, you would have been fucking loving this yesterday. So now, since you're almost 100 points lower from the morning, you're asking me about fear. So keep that in mind. You're at the weird level now of yesterday. That little high pump thing, and then we got China, India, and other comments, but no real development.
Money from the marketplace and not from a government check. So far in this administration, we've seen even more sweeping tariffs, with some countries already retaliating agriculture, including China. I have been very vocal in my wait-and-see approach to these tariffs because I believe President Trump and you, Mr. Ambassador, are using them to get fair trade for Americans with many countries.
Yeah, NASDAQ's still at 3% or just below.
Case, level with me. So to help farmers in the meantime, instead of relying on payments from the government, I'm going to give a suggestion that you don't have much to do with, but the administration could move very quickly.
5176.
To increase
so again,
RVOs,
5150, 51 like 3727 next levels.
Fuel standards so that farmers
China could devaluate more, but if they do that, bonds are going to run.
For their crops.
So that's where it's like everyone keeps thinking we can't respond to China, but China's about to start running out of room too.
RVOs only 3 1/10 billion over a 3-year period of time on biodiesel. To make that 5.3 as far as you can see into the future, and that would very dramatically increase soybean prices. So my question to you is, in the medium to the long term, do you plan to turn these tariffs into trade deals to reduce tariffs and non-tariff barriers? I support that. On the other hand, if the purpose is to stall on negotiations in order to keep tariffs high for the sole purpose of feeding the U.S. Treasury, I oppose that. So is this administration for trade reciprocity?
Yeah, I got out of the Teslas. That was 20-something%. You could hold the strangle, but
Senator,
I just took it. It was good money.
Thank you, and thank you for your years.
It was a little bit more expensive, but it worked. It just took a while. Okay, going lower.
It's important to understand the sense of the emergency that we're facing and urgency with the need to reshore and do manufacturing.
Okay, those TLTs are back above 30 now. TLT is about to go green. Meanwhile, SPY is about to be 2.5 or 2.1. NASDAQ has given up half the gains. WTI flips negative. So now oil's going negative, yeah.
The tariffs that affect that.
And Canada and the euro, everything flipped negative.
There are going to be some
except for Mexico. They're about to go negative.
Tariff barriers or their tariffs or the deficit fully, and there will be others.
Mexico president says they would reject U.S. military action and that it would not resolve anything.
Now.
And then Energy Secretary says production is still high.
But we need to.
So again, bro, we just keep getting.
Get rid of our agricultural.
We just keep getting random
ones. We need
ones.
to make sure that if countries are going to trade with us, it has to be on a reciprocal basis.
Literally every one of these drops, bro. I'm getting like 2-3 headlines at the same time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ambassador Greer, good to see you. You and I have had many conversations
Okay, 5-1,
about trade.
15 more points, and let's see if 51-50.
My question this morning, though, starts with the consultation that Congress deserves on trade issues from the trade ambassador.
SQQ.
And
Bro, VIX is still down 10.
Trump administration do to
this is it.
prepare
Watch.
us, to communicate with us, to tell us
So
about
now the VIX is
findings
starting to
as it
respond.
relates-
I think if we don't hold 51-50, so if we don't hold 51-50, this next level, I think we go straight to like 51-27 or 5100, and then VIX will be break even by then. Otherwise, if we bounce from 51-50, VIX is going to stay red all day, if that makes any sense. So I think that's the opportunity that I see happening right now, is that either VIX goes green by end of the day, or all of this is just fucking with you, and then the VIX stays red by the end of the day. So watch out for that, because like I'm saying, this wasn't moving. This wasn't bad, but now you just took another 4 points lower, and now the VIX is back above 40, and now it's ready to turn on again. You see what I'm saying? Right, negotiations are intended to open markets to U.S. products. I think that's for energy. All right, well, watch out again. You also just had more comments coming out there, too, at the same time. You have Mexico Scheinbaum. Meanwhile, you keep hearing tariffs
Industry,
in China
Main Street
and Greer.
Alliance, Small Business Majority, all anxious, asking us to do something, and you're saying, well, some people have passed some notes to staff. What the requirement is, and this is where I believe the president has misconstructed and actually exploited this authority, is not communicated to us, nor these interest groups that are now panicked over the effect of tariffs. So I would say that the skill set of a USTR office or even a Treasury Secretary could have opened these conversations with these countries without the tariffs and saved a lot of people a lot of pain and anguish. I worry that this trust issue, because I have a different worldview, that we should be building alliances as a way to counter China, that the alliance building process now will become harder. And people are going to wonder, well, is the United States going to pull another fast one again and just wreak havoc? When in reality, countering
like I'm saying,
China
I think this will be anything lower from here is where it gets crazier. Anything below 5150, that's going to change everything. Otherwise, even if we bounce off of this, you could be right back up, and then
what we can't do
they were just fucking with you.
Wait.
Either way, we still need more info, but we just got bombarded with a lot of like minor headlines.
Robust trade disputes with our partners. Japan in the 80s and early 90s over cars, semiconductors, and they ended reshoring a lot of those factories here. And it didn't make us less of a security partner to Japan. I think we can have these conversations like friends do. And that's what the president said yesterday. He said, listen, China's trying to retaliate. They're taking a different path. But for others who want to have meetings,
I want to reclaim my time for a second because I only have 5 minutes and you have lots of time to answer lots of questions from members. But you can see all my colleagues, we are thoughtful people with specific issues about our constituencies. I just met with raspberry growers. They're concerned. They want to know if they're going to get
I have a problem with the lack of thoughtfulness. I think you guys are not.
I'm for trade. I represent trade. I represent a trade economy.
I think you are motivated by donors and by politicians and getting a little club going.
With this not
anything but thoughtful.
The market at 401s.
What the fuck, Miss Cantwell?
Now you're coming here telling me that tariff is the tool. And I'm telling you, innovation is the tool. You're telling us
I think a
in your
little bit of
testimony
thoughtfulness
you
would
want a
take y'all
tariff
a long
on
way.
semiconductors. I'm saying that the last administration and this organization here passed the Chips and Science Act, so we could reshore tariff, so we could
He said
reshore
country by
semiconductors here in the
country.
United States. So you're not going
All
to
these
win
Greer
the
headlines
innovation
keep hitting the
economy
wire
by
later.
tariffing semiconductors and reshoring that. I don't know what you think. I'm not trying to get the semiconductor.
I should have held that Tesla call. We should have took the put and held the call. I'm going to try that next time.
Ranking member here who's going to tell me
good.
if we don't lead on semiconductor manufacturing and semiconductor next generation technology, then we're not going to be leading in defense or in AI or in anything. So I want to innovate my way to that future, and I want to use the alliance power of different countries to force China and other people to follow us instead of
Okay,
this
half of that
berating
second
the
leg
American
already
consumer
recovered
who
in
has
3
to pay the
minutes.
price for this policy.
So 5187, this is the other level.
TSMC has
So you're in between the two levels right now. You get above here, it'll look good. If you don't hold and we break 5150,
Thank you,
remember what
the
I told
people
you
who
about the
voted
VIX.
For the Chips and Science Act in the past administration. Thank you for that. We are going to lead on innovation despite this administration.
Senator Warner.
Well, Ambassador Greer, it's good to see you. And let me first
Humana sell it off.
completely agree with Senator Cantwell. I mean, I just don't get it. The fact on semiconductors, why you gave a small
Like the video.
exemption-
You don't need to like the video. Buy a
You didn't
membership.
exempt
You'll get more for it. We gave
You
up
didn't
on the
exempt
likes.
lithography equipment.
So that's why, yeah.
You put a huge
Get a
hit
membership
on
instead.
Taiwan, where we need collaboration with the TSMC. I'm baffled. I mean, you're gonna hear from me what I'm sure you're hearing from most of us. Incredulous about, I think, probably the worst economic policies that I've seen in my lifetime.
So I still like
the
it.
data
Amen.
reflects that. A global tariff of
Rohan,
10
Steven,
10 to
there you go,
50%
baby.
on almost every worldwide country. Although, I will note from my Republican colleagues, you'll be probably glad.
Okay,
to
you're
know
coming
that
back
Russia
down, bro.
Didn't get.
I think my levels are going to hit hard today, bro.
Yeah,
Because look, if I was just telling you that 5187 to 5150, I can't believe it did that like clockwork. So yeah, I'll keep calling out these levels. They might be very accurate. But because like I'm saying, if we get above 5187, that'll look good. If it comes back down, 5150 is the next one, and then we'll see where it's at.
Cost since inauguration day, more than $11 trillion has vanished from the market.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks. I didn't think that would happen.
Blip today, but,
yeah, 4 of you just signed up.
just talked to
I was just messing around.
Senior folks in Wall
Let's go,
Street,
baby.
and you described today's
Hella.
market as a good day in hospice.
Excuse me? A good day in hospice?
I wouldn't use his name because, there are no good days in hospice. But that's kind of how I feel. And again,
Dude, what are you talking about, Joe Biden or what? I'm so confused.
But when every firm says,
thanks for sharing.
we're
My
gonna
pleasure,
see
man. Get a
increased
long
chance
term.
of recession.
Okay, Nat Gas still. You're going back. Watch 5150.
And I've met you, Ambassador Greer. I think you're a smart guy.
Yo.
But I don't think just because this is the way Donald Trump wants the world to be for the last 40 years that he can simply will it into happening. In my state, the Port of Virginia accounts for $124 billion in trade. That amounts to about 500,000 jobs.
Okay, oil's leading it down. Canada. Wait if Mexico goes negative too. Again, VIX is still lower than prior, though. That little move. Notice VIX is down 12, not 10. You're not there yet.
A guy in from
So you're still like 10 points off of the level.
In Alexandria. The owner's name is Bill. He's got a triple whammy. He gets his Pilsner from Canada. He gets his bottle caps from Mexico. He gets his kegs from Germany. So already, even in advance of these all kicking in at midnight tonight,
Oh,
he's laid
shit,
off
that
10%
is
of his
tonight.
staff.
Okay, you literally are at the
Even
low. I don't know if you've
the
hit it.
president flips on all this, he's not bringing folks
Right
back.
expects very
candidly,
tight sanctions on
I had another
Iran.
guy
Watch
in
oil.
from,
Again, that's the
makes
energy
bourbon,
guy. So oil just
and
dumped
sells
and
a
now
lot
it's
to
moving
Canada.
up. But watch,
He
oil
thinks
might
it'll be
do
a
its own
cold
thing
day
right
in hell
now.
before the Canadians start buying American bourbon again, simply because our trust relationship has been broken. So I guess the first question I want to give, I'm trying to figure out what would be a question that maybe folks haven't asked. Let me ask you on this one. Australia is one of our strongest allies. We have the AUKUS relationship, which is key to their national security. It's key to our industrial base, so we can continue to build subs. Terribly important. Interesting thing with Australia is we have a free trade agreement with Australia. We don't have tariffs. We even have one of the few industrial countries. We have a trade surplus with Australia.
Honestly, this wasn't supposed to be that big of a deal, but he's one of the trade guys, and then they started hammering tariff. It just this whole thing is filled with headlines. So we started getting a lot, but then it kind of shifted over to China, and then we started getting a lot of other headlines from India to China, and then every 5 or so minutes you're getting a headline from this. But yeah, he's trade advisor, or trade what is it? Ambassador Greer. So, yeah.
They ban imports of American beef.
Ambassador, excuse me. There is a trade. We already have a free trade agreement. We have a trade surplus. So getting the least bad, why did they get whacked in the first place?
We're addressing the $1.2 trillion deficit, the largest in human history that President Biden left us with. We should be running up the score in Australia.
Ambassador Greer, answer the question on Australia. We have a trade surplus with Australia. We have a free trade agreement. Why? They are incredibly important national
it's not a bad
partner.
question,
Why were
to be
they
honest
whacked
with you.
a tariff?
Senator, despite the agreement, they
because
ban
if
our
you
beef,
are
they
logically
ban our pork,
trying to
they're
tell
getting ready to
everybody we're
impose
clapping
measures on
the
companies. It's incredible.
the deficit,
formula, the fact that
we have a surplus
trade
with them.
surplus.
We have a global tariff on everywhere. We're trying to address the $1.2 trillion deficit
I think that
Biden left us with.
I think that answer, sir, you're a much smarter person than that answer. The idea that we are going to whack.
But so are you
friend
guys
and foe
too.
alike,
Some of y'all are hella smart and y'all act
particularly
hella
friends
dumb when you want
with
an
this
answer.
level
But
is
I
both,
agree.
I
He
think,
can't
insulting
answer that
the
question.
Australians,
Like I'm
undermines
telling you,
our
I'm like,
national
well,
security, and frankly
that
makes
is
us not a good
intriguing. Why
partner
did you hit
going forward.
Australia?
The lack of trust from friends and allies based upon this ridiculous policy that goes into full effect at midnight tonight is extraordinary. I go back to what the market believers believe today is happening. A good day in hospice. I'm afraid if we keep these tariffs in effect.
Oh, that's what they
we're
were
looking
talking
at
about.
An economy
They
that
said
will
the
be in
stock
hospice.
market's in
Thank you, Mr.
hospice.
Chairman.
Holy
Senator
shit.
Daines.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Ambassador Greer, welcome to Capitol Hill. I share the President's determination to end these unfair trade practices, whether they are tariffs or non-tariff barriers. I hope we
Very
can
dark
avoid
analogy.
an all-out trade.
That's how you know he have more
A
stocks
trade
than all of
war
you.
will mean higher prices for the American consumer.
Do you know how much
Because
stocks I
think we can do
have?
a little thought exercise
And I'm
to
not
know
like,
who
oh,
pays-
hospice.
Who pays these high tariffs? In the short, medium term, it will be the consumer. It'll be the consumer.
I
And
love
so
America.
I'm worried about the inflationary effect. I'm worried if there is a trade war, that we're going to have markets shutting down for American farmers, ranchers, and manufacturers. I'll give you an example of that here in a moment. But I'm encouraged because the President's announcement has gotten the attention of a lot of countries. I was encouraged to see Kevin Hassett this morning talking about negotiations occurring, looking at President Trump's latest post on Truth Social.
Hey, bonds are
The fact
moving
that
while
we've got
spies at the low.
Koreans
It hasn't
now
broke.
coming
We're
to the United
15 points
States,
from that next
literally
level.
dispatched
And
to
look, though,
engage with
VIX
us
is a
to
little
lower
bit
these
better.
barriers, tariff
But
and
you're going down
non-tariff.
now, so see,
The
bonds are going to
Japanese
break.
and some 70 countries now that want to come and work and address the issues of the barriers
Please move on
for
bonds.
American companies,
They're
American
going to
producers
move.
doing businesses in their country.
If you guys haven't noticed, I've been telling you, one, the bond strategy for the mornings, I hope that should have paid you 30% to 50% by now. But bonds are going to move eventually. I don't know when, but this is what I keep trying to tell people. I'm like, come on, you guys. Why are you listening so much? And you're listening to all of these like reasons, but like, do you not see it? Like, just look. And this is what I'm saying is like, look at this volatility. Look at what the bond market is doing. And then, yeah, that's the other part. I'm like, bro, I got people looking at bonds and like listening to guys they don't even know who. Even some of you just found out who Gunlock was. The other half of you hate Larry Fink anyway. So, but that's not the point. The point is bond volatility is surging. So I don't care what it looks like and why. Like what I'm saying, one of these days you're going to have a TLT move, but it's not going to be surprising because, like I'm telling you, bond volatility is through the roof right now. Any other time bond volatility has been this high, it only goes crazier. And again, this was the literal banking crisis. So the only other time bond volatility was this high was SVB. Watchlist. So, yeah, that's why eventually we'll see. The timing is going to be difficult, but you shouldn't don't be confused by the price action of bonds. You should kind of zoom out and realize where you're at right now is essentially what I'm telling you and been telling you. But, yeah, so we'll see. But, look, bonds moved off that, but we haven't broken out yet. Again, 51.50. the cop code for
developments
crazy.
related to the expiration of registrations for beef processing plants here in the United States and some non-science-based barriers which has impacted Montana and U.S. beef exports. I want to remind you that in 2017, I went to China. I carried some steaks from a Montana rancher, Fred Wacker of Miles City, Montana. We met with the premier. In fact, I had one of your predecessors, Rob Portman, then the senator from Ohio and a former USTR with me. I had Senator Barrasso with me, Senator Kennedy with me. And as a result of that meeting, 30 days later, they lifted a 14-year ban on U.S. beef imports into China. Let me talk about what that has meant so far. This is the largest beef export market in the world is now China. For U.S. producers of beef, in 2021, we shipped $1.6 billion of beef. Keep in mind, the 2017 number was $31 million. It was $2.1 billion in 22, $1.6 billion in 23, $1.6 billion
bonds
in
might go
24.
lower off that.
But here's
the
concern.
VIX isn't
That's
moving.
been shut
But
off
we
now
need to get above
in the
this
last
level,
3
the
weeks.
87,
March
and then if you do,
exports
bonds will
of
go
beef
down
to
probably.
China, U.S. beef declined 92%.
Everyone's yelling at this
So
guy
the
because remember,
valve is
Congress
shut
was trying
right
to
now for
veto the
US beef
tariffs.
producers.
Congress is
My
pissed,
question is,
or at least the Democratic side.
what can we do
Some
to
Republicans
hold
as
China's
well.
commitment to U.S. beef and other ag imports, which are so critical right now for U.S. producers?
Thank you, Senator, and you've always been a leader on this, and I appreciate that. China, of course, needs to take down their barriers. It's been a persistent challenge with them, and they like to use economic coercion, and they have their own method of doing things. But my hope would be is that they turn back on this course of action. I think President Trump is focused on making sure we have the right program in place, that we're dealing with partners who are going to be respectful and achieve reciprocity with us. And I think a lot of this is going to be up to the Chinese on how forward-leaning they want to be on having fair trade with us. I'm very sensitive to this issue in particular, and I want to make sure we open up beef markets other places too, so we don't have to be dependent on just one
yen.
market.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Well,
no, yen is up.
Ambassador Greer,
I was actually surprised because that was negative earlier.
That are going on as
so
we
that
speak
bounce
with
brought the
Japan,
yen
with
green,
Korea,
but
with
not
some
bonds.
70 countries who want to now
Good call.
reduce their tariff and non-tariff barriers. This could be absolutely a monumental moment in trade for the United States, and Godspeed.
Thank my colleague. Next is Senator Young.
Good to have you here, Ambassador Greer. And let me just begin by commending you. You've been very accessible as we've tried to get some clarity on exactly trade policy and where we're headed and how we expect counterparties to move and all the rest. You returned my phone call immediately, and your team's been in touch with mine. And so just that speaks very well of you and the Trump administration, because this is creating some anxiety. This current tariff posture among some of my constituents.
No shit.
On balance, I would say most of my constituents are supportive, and they recognize that some turbulence might be required in order to end up in a better spot and reset trade relations. I think one of the things I'm hearing from constituents back home is that trade retaliation doesn't fall on everyone evenly. It has a different impact on a New York tech firm than it might have on a Hoosier soybean farmer.
Okay.
And I hope that's something.
You get above here, you're going to get nearer to VWAP, and then watch if bonds dump on that.
As you think about how foreign countermeasures could impact the American economy generally, and then
if we don't get above that, though, you're going to get trapped in here for a little bit. Or just going to be annoying.
So unpacking those trade-offs for the American people, I think is going to be very important moving forward. In Indiana, rural communities and export-driven manufacturers oftentimes feel the consequences, and they feel the consequences first. So, Ambassador Greer, is USTR actively mapping out which sectors and regions are going to bear the brunt of certain retaliatory measures.
Amazon and Meta on the low.
Contingency
so watch big tech still not out, but a couple of other names
Senator,
moving.
Thank you for your concern, and I know this is something that we all watch. I
All
watch
right.
it very closely. The president.
So Dow Jones, one name in the red. It was all names green. Now Merck is the only name red on the Dow after this. Again, last time I gave you the checkup was up here. NASDAQ, you have 8 names red. Prior it was only 2 or 3. So everything's still green mostly. And then SPY, it was like, what, 50 names red? Yeah, now it's 70 names red. So 432 versus 70. Not bad. So, again, most names are still green. This little sell-off, even though you took off 2% from the NASDAQ, it didn't break down everything. So now you're above that level. Bonds are breaking down.
Down their tariffs and
Might have been a little
barriers to
hiccup.
provide better markets and
So get ready. 5188. Now we're going to do 5200 back to like 5207 to 20. And then otherwise we turn around.
And as I know,
Lurker turn believer. Amen. Amen.
You'll keep those
Amazon
considerations
Zooks
in mind
begins
as you develop
robo-taxi
your negotiating
testing.
priorities.
Yes,
Watch
we
Uber.
certainly will, and look
Uber
forward to
hates it when
continued
people do that.
collaboration with you.
You know, in other areas of federal policy, we have clear metrics or criteria to measure success. We do it in social policy. We do it with respect to education policy, test scores. We do it in defense policy. We try and measure readiness and through various metrics. But in trade policy, especially tariffs,
Verizon on the high
we seem
too.
to lack a,
So watch,
clear
low,
set of
high ticker
metrics and
1 minute
feedback
velocity is
loop.
ticking up pretty aggressively.
Does
Couple of
USTR
value
have a
names
formal
moving too.
process to evaluate
Yeah,
whether
Ferrari
these tariffs
breaking
are
out.
actually achieving their goals?
Again, Verizon and
Whether that's
AT&T,
reshoring
they're holding
or
great.
market access or reciprocity, some metrics associated with that. I'll let you speak to that, sir.
Senator, as we've stated, the underlying basis for this action is the national emergency rising from the trade deficit.
Yeah, bro, that was
As
50
Biden
points
left
from
us
the
with a
bottom.
historically high
So you're back to
$1.2 trillion
5,200,
trade
like I
deficit,
said.
which we
You
understand
get
and
above
know
here,
to be
it's a little
driven,
better,
at least in
but now
part,
you got a
in
little
large
more
part,
work.
by non-reciprocity. And so when we're looking,
But yeah, this just buys
at
time. I don't know if you
whether
guys
that
realize that.
emergency is abating
So
or
now I'm
being
saying, look,
affected,
the
we're looking
VIX
at
still
outcomes.
down, bonds.
Certainly, if
You move
parties,
up, you
other
move back
countries are bringing
down.
in
Now
tariffs and their non-tariff
you're still
barriers, that's a good indicator.
You're
That's
just
the
a
right
couple
direction.
points off of
We
the
also wanna make
5-minute
sure
low
that
in the
trade
morning.
deficit is going in the right direction.
So,
And
yeah.
that means two things. It means we have better access and we can export more to these other markets, but it also means that they're not using us as a dumping ground for their overproduction or their subsidized products. And so it goes both ways. And so it's a country by country analysis. We're looking at it case by case. They come in and talk to us on a country-specific basis where we can articulate to them what their trade barriers are, right? I've got this big book with all the trade barriers, what their non-reciprocal tariff rates are, and what we expect in terms of fair trade.
Well, thank you. I'm already over time. It's amazing how quickly we go through this, which is why I really appreciate that direct line to you and your team. I should also mention that we heard from Secretary Bessent to discuss tariffs the other day as well. We'll be in touch. We want to work with you on critical minerals policy, on digital trade policy, and many other areas that I know are your priorities.
Oh, you had
as well,
Starmer
President
talk
Trump's
about digital
priorities.
earlier.
And
So that was part of some of the drop
thank
there,
you for
too.
your ongoing efforts to bring more clarity to the markets and to our businesses and farmers so that we know exactly what lies ahead. Thank you.
Senator Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Ranking Member. Mr. Ambassador, welcome. So you're hearing a fair amount of agreement from the Finance Committee here. First of all, I think
Most
there's agreement
countries
that,
said they
we
won't retaliate,
recognize that
seeking
America's
steps.
been very generous in opening up our markets. Our trading
Judge
partners taking
country-specific
advantage of us.
basis.
We
That
don't
was the
have
latest
fair
headline from
trade.
him that hit the wire.
But I think you're also hearing that our
Oh, yeah,
constituents
we
rely
did bounce right on
trade,
Euro close. You're right.
and they're going to be harmed by it. So I handed you 10 cases.
Yeah, bro, we literally bounced right at Euro close. I didn't realize that. Fucking daylight savings. Screw daylight savings. And then hackers spied on 100 bank regulator emails for over a year.
Here that exclusions of some of these
So you
things.
mean to tell me the hackers hacked the banks, but then it was the banks that blew themselves up and not the hackers? That's amazing. And remember, bond yields are higher than that moment. Just thought I'd throw that out there. And then bond volatility is highest since that moment as well. Thought I'd throw that one out there too. Okay, back to your rally after you thought it was going to dump, and now we're just still up 3%.
Companies potentially going bankrupt by these
What's
actions.
going on?
Again,
Why is it the hospice?
we want fair trade, but I hope you recognize, tariffs are double-edged sword. I would argue a somewhat blunt instrument. A question I have for you, there's no doubt that we have offshored some very crucial products, pharmaceuticals, high-end semiconductors, rare earth minerals. Do you have a list of what those products are that we must, in some way, shape, or form, reshore?
Thank you, Senator, and I appreciate the communication we've had, and I've received your letters, and we'll take a close look at those to make sure we're incorporating feedback as we develop the policy. You'll note in the action we took last week, there were certain sectors that we excluded from the tariff action because we think they need their own investigation and consideration, whether it comes to tariffs or other actions. This includes semiconductors, it includes pharmaceuticals, like you're talking about, certain metals like copper, and also critical minerals. These are areas where we have to reshore. We need to be able to think about the best way to incentivize this. There are things we can do as the executive branch, and there are things that Congress can do, and especially with the tax bill coming up. I think these are the kinds of things where we need to create the right incentives.
You're not using tariffs with pharmaceuticals and semiconductors or rare earth minerals.
So right now they're not subject to a tariff.
Because you want them brought in here because they're crucial. There are other products that are also crucial that you are applying tariffs to.
So we are doing investigations right now, and we're considering, with respect to pharmaceuticals and semiconductors, the president's been very clear about this. He said it several times because tariffs are a tool that can be used to create incentives. What we can't have is the status quo. The status quo has not worked.
Do you believe a trade deficit is just per se always bad?
I think the situation, what we have, Senator, is a large and persistent trade deficit. In normal economic structures and normal markets, you would have a deficit one year that's, or a surplus one year. But what we have is a structural, persistent and growing deficit.
And as a result, offshore some crucial
Yes,
products.
That's a big part of it. Yes,
but
sir.
Do you want to onshore, for example, very high labor content products when, by the way, we're pretty low unemployment rate. I mean, when I went to college, 5% was full employment. We're at 4.2. I've been in manufacturing since late 70s. You couldn't hire enough people in manufacturing back then. Situations even got worse. So I would argue that I'm far more concerned about our budget deficit of $2 trillion. And I realize the trade deficit, we have problems with that. But I think a bigger problem is we don't have enough workers. So are you factoring that into your calculation in terms of what you're actually trying to accomplish here? I mean, all for bringing back these crucial products so that we don't have national security issues with the things that we can't manufacture. But again, I don't want to bring back high labor content. Now I want to diversify our supply chain. It's bad to have that all in China, as we saw certainly with PPE, but a diversified supply chain around the world, because I think trade is a win-win situation. It should be. What are your comments on that?
So I think when it comes to workers, so first of all, we have about 2 million discouraged workers, right? And these are folks who should come off the sidelines for sure. I think the factories that are being built and will be built in the United States will leverage both automation and workers, right? I don't think we're going to have lots of, it's not the kind of labor that's done in some of these other countries. I think our folks are innovative, and the newest factories use a lot of automation, but also workers and people who make the products that the industrial robots that contribute to that automation. But I mean, I think we need to be in a situation where we have production here, right? We need to think not just in terms of quarterly earnings, but in the next century, and how do we set up the American economy now? How do we deal with the emergency now to make sure we can produce far into the future?
Again, I would ask that these case studies be entered in the record, and I just really ask you and the President, focus on the products we actually need as opposed to using this broad instrument. There's going to be an awful lot of collateral damage. People are already feeling that pain, so I hope you're sensitive to that.
Without objection. And Senator Tillis is next.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ambassador Greer, thank you for being here. Back in the 90s, I was in management consulting, and there was a new platform that came out that promised to transform the business industry, ERP. Some of the
got
early
a Fitch headline, tariff war heightens risk for corporates without leverage headroom.
Ala prima approach. Let's do it all at once. Let's
And then
change the plumbing out.
TSMC
Let's
could
get it
face
all in,
fine of
get it
$1
done, rip the
billion
Band-Aid
from
off.
U.S.
It
probe
proved to be hugely
of Huawei
unsuccessful.
AI chips.
There were a lot of very visible projects. And,
So you got a
the industry
TSM probe
decided
right
there
now.
needed to be a
Small
methodical
reaction,
sort of
but
prioritization
it looks
of
a
what
little
parts of
bigger
the
than any
business
other
needed to
chip.
perform better
But now
sooner, and how
NVIDIA's
do you
coming
layer
down.
over
Watch
that
TSM.
a comprehensive strategy.
That's Reuters.
It looks
hot
like
dog.
we've got a novel approach here in terms of an ala prima approach. I'm not a trade expert, and I'm not going to question it at this point. I do have a question about, at the end of the day, the other thing in management consulting we like to focus on is this concept of one throat to choke. In other words, when you're finally taking a look at a strategy, someone has to own it. And you can't say that it's the president or the vice president. So my first question to you, in this scenario, the decision maker who decided the ala prima approach, who has obviously had to have spent time anticipating what we saw in the markets and some of the pushback, I'm assuming this all got gamed out because it's a novel approach, it needed to be thought out. Whose throat do I get to choke if this proves to be wrong?
Well, so, Senator, you can certainly always talk to me, but
are you at the tip of the spear?
Well, I'm at the tip of the spear for certainly.
Did you propose the ala prima approach?
So, first of all, I would push back, Senator, just a little bit on this. For now, we've excluded pharmaceuticals and semiconductors to take a different kind of approach.
So let's get
and
to
we've
another
excluded
question.
USMCA.
Section 232 and 301, we know particularly Section 232 is still on aluminum. Section 301 is Chinese imports, where there's no other provider. I overheard you say that maybe, or I thought I heard you say in response to another question, that for the near term there won't be any exclusions. Is that true of China, where they have said the U.S. is unilaterally bullying and completely groundless, and they're going to fight to the end?
I think China's the answer today. If we're going to give up this move, it's just going to be when China retaliates. That's it. And like I'm saying, watch the yuan. I think that's another one. But other than that, if we don't have any development, you got to wait till China. And remember, by midnight, all the tariffs come into play.
There will not be any exclusions on steel, aluminum,
Okay, another
or
no exclusion
any
headline.
products that are only manufactured in China for
Now
the
you're back to the
foreseeable
top
future
end of
until
that level I said we got to
China
break out of.
determines what the end
This
is, 'cause They
sucks.
said they're going to fight to the end. Again,
I didn't make that many plays. I hit my Tesla, I hit my MSTR. I have another play just sitting and it's only up 1 penny. And then the TLTs are green, but I haven't done much today. I don't want to. I don't. This sucks. TSM now reacting and the market's coming down.
I'm waiting to see it be successful. But
China
it
could come
seems
out
like
whenever.
we've
Who knows? It's whether
decided
we
to
attack
begin
or
a
they
trade
attack,
war
or
on all
you have to
fronts.
wait till overnight
And that's okay.
for the like official
if the
thing.
person who thought this through has an answer for why you go after partners that we have a very long storied relationship with. Maybe we give some developing countries a break because we're trying to actually get their economies functioning.
Okay, whoa, TSM got murked off of that. Holy
so it
shit.
seems like,
I said I thought the market wouldn't even have that pull.
I'm not condemning it because I'm not a trade expert, but I still, at some point, and I understand that you are the trade rep. So if you own this decision, then I'll look to you to figure out if we're going to be successful. If you don't own the decision, I'm just trying to figure out whose throat I get to choke if it's wrong, and who I put up on a platform and thank them.
Bro, TSM, I just put on the stream alert. I was like, maybe the market will have more pull.
But here's what I'm really worried.
It only
I'm not
moved
gonna ask
20?
any more questions.
No.
I'm just gonna tell you,
that looks like a hit. I mean, if I didn't look,
every
but I probably
time
would have hit that. You give me a
we
$2 in a
talk
minute.
About people having patience. We need to understand.
No, you
that
could have hit
founding
off of that. You would have
fathers
got like
made
40
damn
to
sure
90.
That patience was never more than about 14 months.
Yeah.
Really. Everything that we need to do
Wild.
to know what the political
Well, that's good, though.
environment
It's
is gonna be
moving.
about next year, it's got to be done by February.
SPY's starting to come down now. NVIDIA's leading the way. That could be the TSM headline. Because that could be escalatory.
We're going to have
if you
a
think
level
about
of
it.
certainty.
But yeah, no, TSM's moving now. Apple and NVIDIA. It's non-tech is holding you up right now.
Maybe some job displacement for a period of time. How are they going to be feeling Groundhog Day 2027?
Oh, that's why.
Do we feel like the
No, bro, this is why chips are moving. His headline, he said they excluded pharma and semiconductors because they think they need their own investigations. So maybe that implies you're going to get more sectoral tariffs. I think that could be part of what, because I'm like, why isn't NVIDIA leading down? I don't think that was the TSM investigation. I think it was that Greer comment, because now it could kind of imply more sectoral investigations.
So there, let's say from 60 to 65, people looking at their 401k statements. They did vote for President Trump. They voted for me. I hope that they will again in both cases. Well, maybe not the president, but I intend to run for re-election.
What?
I'm just trying to figure out if they're going to feel good about this, because a long-term play.
Hey, China too, Yang. I think it was that chip comment, though. I think pharma and chip, that's the reason why.
Of an administration. I wish you well, but I am skeptical. Thank you.
Senator Smith.
Thank you, Senator Crapo, and welcome, Ambassador Greer.
Supreme Court backs Trump for now in federal worker firing case.
President Trump has started a big trade war, and the war is with everyone on multiple fronts, with allies as well as adversaries. I think this is a little bit of what Senator Tillis was
Bro, you're about to go red. Like,
really
you're about to go to another low.
Chaotic.
Holy shit.
And apparently, we're still
You're
just
3 points off the low of the day.
And
Yen is running. Bonds should be going up a lot right now, but they're not. I think we're reacting to that chip headline. I put it out on the stream alert because that TSM thing was weird, but now, right when he said pharma and chips, 4 minutes, we're back to the low.
Who work on the Iron Range, which is the source of 80% of the iron ore that goes into American-made steel. They want fair trade. They want us to stand up to illegal steel dumping, but like 500 of them have been laid off because the demand for American cars has been slumping. I mean, I could go on in every sector. Consumers are freaked out. This looks like a giant sales tax to them. Retirement stock market plummeting, and it's very hard for people to understand what is going on here. So what I want to do is to get an understanding from you of what you see as the goals of this war that we're in, because at various times it's been described as goals to raise revenue, to stop fentanyl trafficking, close trade deficits. So is the goal here to raise revenue for the federal treasury?
Senator, this is not a trade war. We have, most countries have said they're not going to retaliate. We have an underlying emergency.
Don't play them. But that's another rumor. Did you guys hear the fentanyl? So that was from that Chinese blog. They were also saying that China, as a retaliation, might even back out of the fentanyl, crackdown to kind of make things more complicated. Because now imagine if China was like, nah, we don't care anymore. What would that do to the trade war? Ta-da. It's not a trade war. Oh, okay.
That would mean that the tariffs are a negotiating tool here. Is that right? Is that how you see it?
China is going to go pro-fed, yeah.
Trying to use them to...
Well, it can go both ways, Senator. So on the first, we've talked a lot about negotiations because a lot of these countries, they have closed off markets to our exports in unfair ways. They've done it for decades, and nothing has persuaded them. Sitting down, talking nicely hasn't persuaded them.
But if you were trying to... So I'm all for fair trade. And I'm all for the idea that if somebody is not trading fairly with us, if they're not giving us fair markets, then we need to have a strategy to go after that. But yet this is a blanket approach. It's an across-the-board approach, which is going to contribute to raising costs, and that's why it just feels, I think, so chaotic to people.
Well, the trade deficit is a global issue. So you can't just, if you're trying to get the trade deficit, you can't just pick one or two countries and say, we're going to do this and become Swiss cheese. Like that would not be coherent. What's coherent has a global approach to what's a global issue, to take these countries, country by country, figure out how we can address our trade deficit with them and address trade market barriers with them. And that's the right approach. And that's what's happening. That's what the president's directed.
But I mean, as Senator Warner was pointing out, we have I guess it's a floor, you could call it, a 10% tariff, even with countries where we have a trade surplus.
EXC
by the
utilities.
Way, this formula that the administration used to assign this so-called reciprocal tariff.
Yeah, bro. Why are utility? I mean, everything's up,
so
I guess.
Arbitrary. I mean, where
but
did
utilities
that
are running.
come from?
But yeah, they got clobbered.
It's straightforward.
If that was at the high, I would have been freaking out.
And they proposed that looking at a country's trade deficit is a good approximation of the net effect of the unfairness of the higher tariff rates, the higher trade barriers, the unfair trade practices, the dumping, the subsidies, all of that, and that's how you can capture that.
Well, so would you adapt that as, because it's based on 1 year, and of course, trade surpluses, deficits can vary quite a bit from year to year. Would your plan be to change it if you get new yearly data? And then that would suggest, I guess, that the tariffs would be in place for a long time.
Well, we need to assess. Again, I think it becomes country by country. We have the baseline 10% to make sure there's no arbitraging of different jurisdictions. And I mean, all these countries that are subject to the highest rates, most of them have already come to talk to us about how to get it down. I mean, we have to take this step by step. We have to take it country by country to address these issues. The status quo just won't work
all
anymore.
about China.
And I'm not arguing for the status quo, Ambassador. I'm not arguing for the status quo, but I am questioning the rationality of this policy that is it's so chaotic and it seems so arbitrary. And it seems so internally inconsistent because, for example, if your goal is to onshore manufacturing, something that I think many of us on this side of the dais believe strongly that we need to be making things in this country again, but then that would suggest that these tariffs need to be in place for a very long time because what capital wants is consistency and stability and predictability. Yet at the same time, the administration seems to be arguing that we would be, waiving some of these tariffs.
The
if
currency,
we could somehow magically
there's many
negotiate,
ways to explain
50
it.
new trade
There's
agreements with 50 different countries. I know
you
my
could
time
get
is up here.
penalized
I wanted
for
to ask
having
you a
your
question about
currency,
trade
or quite
adjustment
simply,
assistance, which I will follow
if I
up,
charge you a
as
10%
a question
tariff
for the record,
and then you
but,
weaken your
again,
currency by
I think
10%,
that
there's no
my
effect.
constituents are freaking out
And
here,
that is an
and I
element that
understand
everybody
why.
has ignored.
Thank you.
Senator Luton.
So if China raises tariffs by, let's say
Thank
we
you, Mr.
raise them
Chairman. Thanks for holding
10%,
this hearing.
and then they devalue by
Now,
10%, it's a net
Mr.
negative.
Greer,
Or
it's
net,
been less
it's a
than
net
week
neutral.
since President Trump started this, what I'll describe as a reckless tariff war. It certainly feels that way. Families are seeing higher costs. Businesses across the country are hurting, and we've seen one of the worst drops in the stock market in over 35 years. Do you believe that there's currently higher costs a week after
This
the
is
president
how, like,
put these tariffs into
angry Chads email me.
Senator, we haven't yet seen
They
how
like
those
write
costs
out
will be
like an
allocated
intro
between foreign
paragraph,
producers and their importers
or if
here.
I
We
ever
haven't seen
talk
the data on
shit
it yet.
when
Do you
one of the
believe
Democrats
businesses
is
are
talking,
hurting
they
a week
email
after
me
President Trump put
while
these
he's
tariffs into
talking.
place?
But they start off like that. And they write like an
I've
intro
heard from a lot of
paragraph.
businesses,
Like,
some
blah,
of
blah,
them
blah, blah,
are
blah,
excited
blah,
about the
blah, blah, blah,
prospects.
blah.
Some are concerned
Ha,
because they're
just, ha,
import
blah, blah, blah,
dependent instead of
blah,
US
blah,
product dependent. So I know there are varying
Okay.
views on this.
Let me ask this question, because this one's based completely on fact, on something I think you look at every day. You probably have some of these numbers in your phone that I'm guessing might be in your pocket. Have we seen one of the worst drops in the stock market in over 35 years?
We've certainly seen volatility.
Have we seen one of the worst drops in the stock market in over 35 years?
I think
Yeah.
and Senator
You can't
Warner
say yes.
talked about
We'll move
this.
on. If you don't want
Well, I know everyone's concerned about Wall Street, and I'm just concerned about Main Street and getting these jobs
Okay, let's
back,
talk
sir.
about Main
Since
Street,
when
Mr.
do
Greer. Last time
Democrats
you were
defend
here,
the stock
I
market?
asked if President
Just
Trump's
for,
trade war
I
would
want to
hurt
know for
Mexico
future
businesses and
reference.
families. You dodged my question. You told me, quote, I can't guarantee economic outcomes.
This is very weird.
When I pressed you,
But
you
again,
told me that you want me to
no, but
quote,
like for real though, because like I'm saying, just I here's the thing. He is right. This was one of the biggest drops in 35 years, but I would argue that this is manufactured. This wasn't a drop that like fucked with people. I mean, why aren't the bonds up? That's it. That's all I'm trying to tell you, because once again now, in the last 6 months, we have gone through a very extreme financial change, and once again, the American people are left the loser. That's my issue. So thank you, Democratic question, for that. No, for real. You guys don't remember what I told you? What happened? And that's why all of you, shame on you. And I did not tolerate any of your responses of why you guys would justify a rate cut ahead of the election. That was one of the most offensive things ever. You don't cut rates ahead of a fucking election. But not only is that a bad move, but what happened after they did that? After they cut rates, it lowered short-term rates, and then for the first time ever in history, you had higher rates after cutting. So what does that mean? That meant for 6 months until Trump, it became cheaper to leverage, cheaper for banks, cheaper for any rich motherfucker to get cheaper money. Meanwhile, the average American's mortgage went up. The average American could not refinance their home. Average American still was paying $5-6 for gas or whatever. And now, this time around, you mean to tell me you're going to start trying to use Americans' 401ks as a political, bargaining chip and talk about 35 years of a low? But now, once again, one of these major market events happen, Americans don't have cheap anything yet. That's it. All that happens now, your savings went down or your 401k. But now, how come the bonds, how come yields aren't going lower? How come you can't refinance? Because any other time you've had a blowout. Last time this happened on bond volatility, they were willing to bail out the banks. That was in March of 23. So, yeah, good question, but I think that's hilarious. So, yeah, I'll go back to him now. I just wanted to rant.
And to my colleagues here,
I kept quiet for a little.
I understand the outcome of this last election. Donald Trump is now the president of the United States. He won the election. My Republican colleagues in the Senate won the election. They control the votes in this chamber. They control the votes in the House. That's why we're seeing these budget resolutions. All I'm saying is own up to what you want to do. You want to do it. Just be honest with the American people about what's going on.
Right back
I
at you.
appreciate the time today, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
The same economists who are crying out now are the ones who said we were going to crash the economy, and Trump won. We put tariffs on China, and real median household income went up for Americans by $7,000. Inflation went down, unemployment went down. So we have history showing that we know how to use this.
Mr. Chairman, since Mr. Greer went on, I will just follow up again. Then help explain the pain that people are feeling today with your assessment of what Donald Trump said, that families should feel some pain. That's all okay with you all?
Senator, we're not going to be in a situation where we keep allowing Wall Street to run the economy. And as we're making that transition, companies
You know what, Mr. Greer,
will need to adjust.
go spend a little time at the grocery store talking to some of my constituents back home. I'll take you around. We'll walk around. We're not going to give anyone a heads
How
up.
many
You
of your
go do it.
constituents
Let's see
pay
what the regular
double
folks
for a
back home are doing,
house?
including the people that come and talk to me.
No,
that say
serious.
They voted for this president. This is not what they stand
How
up
many
for.
constituents
Farmers
are
and
paying
ranchers
double
getting
for their
shorted
rent
from
from 4 years
USDA,
ago?
Where these grants are being cut, and they say, "Oh no, it's because they don't want to give people food." Baloney.
I agree. I think we should
line
take
for
the
these
power
farmers and
from Wall
ranchers as
Street.
well. In
That's coming
addition
from
to
a
what's
guy who's
happening
made a
with
lot
these
of money on
inputs
Wall
with
Street.
tariffs. Look, you all are
Because
a lot smarter than I am. I'm
literally,
just a regular person back home.
again,
I'm one
different
of them.
inflations, you guys.
That's the difference
There's
between you
inflation
and
that
I, sir.
affects your food and
Senator
gas,
Warren.
and then there's inflation that brings up your house price and services.
Thank you very much, Brother
That's
Chair.
crazy.
Since President Trump announced his tariffs last week, the stock market has dropped more than 10%.
Oh, I thought that was Jim Cramer. I was like, what the fuck is he doing back there?
Impact on ordinary people. This for me is a regressive tax. It's a tax on families who are already dealing with increasing costs.
No,
and are trying
it's
to figure
not.
out how to make their lives
The
work.
average,
I heard you
bro,
say,
the average family
Mr. Greer, that you
struggling
don't
doesn't even have a
think this is
401k. What are we
that we're in a
talking about right
trade
now?
war, and
That's good. Rich people had to pay for the last 3 weeks.
respect your
I paid
expertise
more money than
on
anything.
trade, but
The
tomorrow,
people who had
Trump
assets,
administration will
they got
implement
rocked.
its reciprocal tariffs,
Nobody else.
which means
Everybody else who
businesses and
who
families
had to
that have
pay a
less than
little
1
bit off
week
of it.
plan for the largest
Remember, it's so
tax
much easier
increase and more,
at a smaller
than
rate.
50
You could
years. So
average
we
down.
are
I hope you get a
escalating.
cheap house. That's crazy.
So we can go back and forth about whether we think it's a trade war. I'm focused on how this is impacting families.
Like I said, if you would you give up 20% of your
Normally when
401k
tariffs are
that
being
doubled
discussed, businesses and industries
for
have
a
time to plan.
house at an appropriate
And
value?
government often provides an
I
orderly
would.
and clear process for
Or
American
would you do
companies
that so that
to
gas
apply for
prices could be
exclusions
slashed in half?
from tariffs when
I
it's
would.
not possible for them to
I
sell
would give up a
product
lot of
without importing
things
parts or
for
all of it because no one
just to go
manufactures
back
it
to
here.
2019 on some prices.
We all know uncertainty
A
is the
certain
worst thing
level
for
of
business. I'm hearing
normality.
this from farmers. I'm hearing it from folks in the manufacturing sector. So I hope we can provide some certainty.
You're moving up.
What should a multinational retailer do about their products made only overseas or that contain parts only made overseas? We're seeing this in our automotive.
Yeah, bro.
sector
Oil hit
in
low
Georgia.
60s.
Should they just raise their
That's
prices
what I'm saying. That
on
benefits
families to
more
account for
people
the new
than not.
tax? Or is there a
Unless you
process
sell
for that
billions of
company to
dollars of
reach
oil.
out to the White House for an exclusion?
So Senator Warnock, The Section 232 on autos is a Commerce Department action. One thing they've done is they have said that they would be willing to give some kind of a credit for U.S. content in parts and components, and they can approach the Commerce Department about
their
this.
Their 401ks were not, but their IRAs. They might have been, but like I'm saying,
when I hear this,
what went down?
We're sensitive.
It was
to
Mag
these
7.
dynamics,
That's why I was green up until yesterday. That's it.
Over the last 20 years.
So if you had a 401k balanced and you weren't just buying NVIDIA and what Wall Street was buying, you did fine.
Situation gets worse.
But you also got to look at it from the sense of what I was saying earlier. It's a shame that we've gone through now rate cuts and now a crash. In both instances, the average person is not walking away with better access to credit. But both other instances, the banks are winning still. And people are talking about constituents. It's hilarious.
Let me go smaller. Last week, my office met with Angela Hawkins. She's the founder of Bamboo.
Tesla flush. Oh, now we should have held the other side. Yeah, Tesla's breaking down a little more right now.
And sensitive skin allergies like her husband. Angela's products are made overseas because you can't really find bamboo fabric made in the United States. What should Angela do? Pay the new tax, raise her prices, and risk losing customers? Or is there a process for her to apply for an exclusion from the Trump White House?
So, Senator, the president has said that in connection with this action, he's not going to have exclusions or exemptions beyond what's in the program.
I know, right?
Already.
That's what I'm saying. A lot of people don't get it.
She'll just have to figure it out.
I've understood this a lot in my life. Go talk to your neighbors. They know the price of bread. They don't know the price of the S&P. I agree 1,000%.
It will depend on the tariff rate. Every country
That's why
has
most
a
people who
different rate,
are paying for this,
are much lower than
and it
others,
sucks. I'm not saying this is a good thing, but I do think there's a lot more Americans who avoided the stock market. This doesn't matter to them. If anything, the other things created would probably benefit them in the next year.
Like cribs and baby gates are produced abroad or made or have foreign-made components. I went through this not long ago as a parent of young children. For an expecting family in Augusta, Georgia, who may now see a 50% price increase for that stroller or car seat, what is the process for that family to apply for a White House exclusion?
Oh, I think cost of goods will go up. I've explained it many times.
So there's not an exclusion
And I've had people misrepresent me many times, but like I explained the other day,
the studies you're talking about, the economists, they got
prices will go up, but they're not going to stay up. I can guarantee that.
The same thing. I just don't trust what they're saying. And that's
because literally,
history shows
at this point, if the prices go up, we're getting demand destruction.
That was under Biden for housing and education and healthcare.
All tariffs from 1930 are deflationary in nature. I don't know why people are acting like they don't know this.
Deficient, and now bananas are more expensive. Last I checked,
it doesn't make any sense. I've said it many times.
Bananas in the United States. Who should that family reach out to the White House for an exclusion for that price hike on those bananas?
Well, again, as we've discussed, there's not an exclusion process.
Deflation isn't good, yeah.
With the status quo.
It's not. It's a bad thing. And that's why it would be prices coming down in a bad way.
So here you and I agree. Nobody wants the status quo. This economy is not working for working families, for ordinary people. And I would submit that what the president did last week in such a reckless and sudden way is adding even more pressure on these families. Thank you so much.
Senator Warren.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Donald Trump is single-handedly driving this economy off a cliff with no evidence to back him up. He's claimed emergency authorities to slap new tariffs on nearly every product we import from nearly every country. But Congress has the power to reverse these tariffs, and we should do so immediately. Tariffs can be a tool to help build things in America, but Trump has slapped tariffs on, then off again with no rhyme or reason. And the uncertainty about the long-term rules makes companies far less likely to invest
We are.
in
We are focused on
manufacturing or
inflation because we
jobs
just had it.
here in the United
But
States.
make no mistake,
If
there are
Congress
some
doesn't
people
stand
very
up to
just
Trump,
disingenuous.
economists predict a recession
Just like you heard
before
them.
the
Like,
end of the year,
I know
and
when
Fed
people
Chair
are
Jerome
smart.
Powell says
I
we're
know
in
when
a
people
real
know what's
danger
going on.
of,
Most of these
quote,
bank people,
both
they're
higher
smart. They're just
unemployment
leaving out
and
info.
higher inflation.
They're just giving you their analysis.
Translation,
You're only getting
Trump's
the first part of it.
tariffs will push
That's why
millions
everybody's
of
always
workers
behind.
out of jobs
And that's why I'm always
push
early.
prices up
It's
at
a
the
weird
same
mix between
time.
both of them.
So, Ambassador Greer,
But that's what I'm
we've
saying.
heard a
Most
lot of
people
conflicting
with an
statements
economic
about whether
background,
these tariffs are here
you
to
know
stay,
what
how
the
many
fuck
more
tariffs will
rounds of
do
on-off
if you
we're
take
going
them to the
do.
logical end.
So let me ask the question.
You're right.
From a
It is
different
inflationary in
perspective.
the beginning.
Ambassador
I've
Greer,
acknowledged
we
that.
lost
Anybody will acknowledge that. It's true.
700,000 jobs each
But it doesn't
month
last
in the
because
last
either
recession.
the economy
If
adjusts or the
700,000
economy
Americans
collapses.
lose their jobs,
That's it.
will the Trump administration suspend these tariffs?
Democrats probe Google and
Senator, I
Microsoft
think
over AI
The
partnerships.
economists who are making these projections, who often are in favor of fully unfettered free trade, are the same ones who said in the first Trump term that putting tariffs
Greer,
something that's
Greer,
going to happen.
let me just
Senator.
stop you there. I'm not asking about projections. I'm asking if the numbers show that 700,000 people have lost their jobs because of these new tariffs that Trump has slapped on. Will the administration reverse course
Senator,
and lift those tariffs?
Senator, that's not going to happen. We've lost 5 million manufacturing jobs over the years, which is the number I'm most worried about, and we have to get those jobs
So
back.
I take that as a no. Let me try another one. Moody's says that if the Trump tariffs remain in place, we will definitely plunge into a recession, which will ultimately cost 3.5 million Americans their jobs. So, Ambassador Greer, if Trump's tariffs push 3.5 million people out of work, will the Trump administration reverse course and lift those tariffs?
Senator, the Wall Street analysts are wrong. They never want to have any kind of
I'm not
change to the
asking if
status
they're
quo.
right or
But that's who
wrong.
you're quoting to me,
I'm giving
Senator.
you a number. If the number is 3.5 million, if it never comes to pass, you don't have to worry about your answer. But if 3.5 million people lose their jobs because of these tariffs, is the Trump administration prepared to lift them?
Goolsby,
Right
tariffs
now,
are
this
more
minute,
than we had
we're working
been
on
modeling.
negotiations with countries
Fed
who
has to
believe they
take
can achieve
longer view, not
reciprocity
the
with us
stock
and get
market,
their
which
trade
is
deficit
volatile.
down. And that's the emergency we're focused on. There's
All
not
right,
going to be a
let me
situation where
try
years
one
from now
more-
we've lost
Let me
millions
try
of
one
jobs.
more time. If Trump tariffs push workers out of their jobs and raise prices, as Fed Chair Powell has predicted, will you reverse course then?
I think also with respect to Chairman Powell, who I don't know personally, but I know the president makes decisions on trade, and he rarely takes advice from Chairman Powell on this. We found in Trump 1 that you could put tariffs on China and you could make it work and have lower income, lower unemployment, lower inflation, and increase real median household income over time as we reshore. And that's what we have to do, Senator.
What I'm hearing you say is that no one can hear a rhyme or reason to why the tariffs are off again, on again, off again, on again. But what you're telling us is the fact that hundreds of thousands, even millions of people could lose their jobs and that prices could go up will not be a factor for you or for Donald Trump for rolling those tariffs back. Look, if Republicans are serious about protecting American jobs and fighting inflation, then they can join Democrats right now to pass a resolution to fix Trump's reckless tariffs. This economy is teetering on the edge of collapse.
Keystone Pipeline in North Dakota shut after a rupture. I don't know if that's why we're going down. Check oil, but Keystone just got shut down. And then 5173, you got a big candle, but
if Republicans are serious about not playing the red
I
light,
don't
green
see
light with
anything.
tariffs, but instead about protecting our economy, our families, our jobs, and keeping prices low, then Republicans should join us on that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Welch.
Thank you. You know, there's a place for tariffs on China. Targeted tariffs
I
make
think
some sense.
Republicans care about jobs. I just think they don't care about the jobs they want them to. So do you guys remember back in 2022 when there was like millions of layoffs? Do you guys remember that? Remember there was like millions of tech company layoffs and all these people got fired? But then nothing reacted? Yeah. I think they want to change the landscape of jobs. So I think they care about jobs, just not the high-income, nerdy, like tech jobs or finance, Wall Street jobs. All right, you're coming down, though. So, again, you have Keystone headline right now. I mean, sadly, there hasn't. Goolsby just said market's not going to respond or the Fed's not going to respond.
I personally didn't. No.
Yeah, can you explain?
Not new lows yet, but you're about to. And then Yang, China.
So the way that the methodology works is the emergency we're talking about is premised on the trade deficit, which we think is. Well, I'm trying to explain the methodology, Senator, if you want to hear it.
This has got to get concrete, because this has real impacts on everyday people. So the rhetoric about what the goals are when the rollout is so in conflict with achieving.
Yeah, oil's dropping though, so that's weird. 5168.
Downturn.
Again, the low I think is 5163.
50% rate on Lesotho be decided.
So when you have White House economists who assess the trade deficit,
but you had no role in it.
Well, I certainly had a role in it. Everyone was advising the president on how to do this.
Tell me why I came up with 50% for Lesotho.
Well, I'd like to tell you, Senator. So when you look at a country's trade deficit, we believe that captures some of the unfairnesses. And you have
all right, you're about to hit the low right now.
You can't be arbitrary or capricious.
I'm going to keep going because Lesotho does diamonds, and
I'm happy to talk more to you about the methodology.
There is, I mean, my sense is there is no methodology. I asked
ChatGPT, new low,
and basically they came up with some.
Sadly, you don't have a headline this time. It's all this stuff piling on it. You just had, there was a Microsoft probe. I don't think that's it. Like I said, it's probably going to be China, but Chinese yuan is down now.
Issue of these tariffs,
not down on the day, but this is equities leading.
The White House from countries wanting to get a break, right?
They want to talk about have reciprocal trade with us and how to get that deficit down.
That's right. So here's
the yen's not breaking.
That is really
I don't know what that one is.
Me, and I hope
so 5154 again. 5150 is the level, like I told you here. If we break below there, you might be looking at 51 flat.
An economy that's based on competition to one that's based on access. You know, in a competitive economy, your product, your service determines the outcome and how well you do. In an access economy, it's who's got Donald Trump's number, who's got your number, who's got Lutnick's number, and you call up and you get a break. That's an access economy. Is this going to be
last 4 years, if I said I was gay, you would have not shadow banned me.
Cut the Vietnam
I tried it on another account. It worked.
Sustain
That's not bullshit.
The tariff on Lesotho?
The way this works, Senator, is we have long-standing relationships.
I could call like 5 people on Trump's team if I wanted to, and they wouldn't even fucking give me a White House pass.
Offer, we review it, we analyze it.
That's it. If I said ESG and I like boys, I would have been #1 on YouTube 4 years ago. So cap.
And losers, and who knows on what basis?
Lower the rates.
That's not a trade regime that anybody can count on. That's something they can game if they know.
Fed Goolsby, many people fear for their financial safety.
You know, that I think was what Senator Warnock was asking about. We've got farmers on the border with Canada. They get their grain. It's going to be 25% hit. We've got
2 more points. Get ready. Anything below 5150
are going up because of retaliation from Canada. Can they make a call
the
to
stock
you,
market?
Howard Lutnick,
No, you're a false prophet. May the Lord rebuke you. Not me, but the Lord.
We certainly talk to all kinds of constituents. We talk to labor
I don't know why you
unions,
haven't learned
civil
yet.
Society. We talk to business.
Many will come in my name.
Canada,
You're one of them.
They receive
False.
duty-free treatment for things that follow the rules of USMCA. If they bring in Chinese content and send it down, they won't get a break.
Let me tell you the frustration I have. There is a place for targeted tariffs to help us, and also
the UVXY, it's at 10 though. You guys don't. This is what I was trying to tell you earlier.
I support that.
Good. I'm glad
That's
that you
not what this
glad
is.
you brought that up. Do you notice this? Remember on the first low, and I was like, oh shit, the VIX is down 10%. So look, we just had that flush, went another 10 points lower, but the VIX is at the same spot. So you need to go a little lower, because watch, if it bounces, the VIX not going to go below 10. But if we go a lot lower, then there you go. Like I said, if we break below and stay in the lower range, we could maybe see the VIX go green today. Otherwise, if it doesn't, you might bounce and that VIX ain't going green today. So we'll see. But you are breaking down. You only have 1.7 now. You've given up 3%, a little bit less than that. But yeah, TLT premium's moving just very slow in the morning.
workers in my home state.
Let's see.
Across the country
No, the plays
paying
are down
price.
less now.
So can you
Now
just
we're
talk a
only
little
up
bit
20
about how
instead
you
of 30.
determine if foreign trade and economic practices
But DOT should be up a lot more because the yen's up almost 1, but I think there's a lot of drama.
Talk about asking Chat GPT. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to ask you, how is it that we determine if foreign trade and economic practices constitute an emergency for our country?
Thank you, Senator. In the first instance, when the president declares an emergency, he has to
All
consider
right,
whether
SPY a
it's,
little lower,
the
though. You hit a new
conditions
low on that.
they impact national and economic security. And so for him, he took a look at our trade deficit, which was the largest in human history under President Biden, 1.2 trillion. And we looked at what the effect of that was. And it includes loss of 5 million manufacturing jobs, loss of 90,000 factories, loss of competitiveness with China in advanced technology. And then we looked at what are some of the causes of the trade deficit. And certainly there's currency manipulation, there's other currency factors, but also non-reciprocity in trade, barriers overseas, whether tariffs or non-tariff barriers that keep us out, unfair trading practices like dumping and other things that push things into our market, or subsidies, or state-directed economies. And so those are the things we look at. And then when you move to the countries, obviously it's common sense to have a baseline to make sure there's no cheating and that we can get at the deficit broadly based, and then to have a higher rate for those who have who pose the biggest challenges in terms of the trade.
Hey, low ticker's still going.
Thanks.
I don't think that's
Can I
going to
ask you about
hold.
nuclear fuel, and for decades, America led the world in uranium production. Today, we're virtually
Uranium.
virtually no.
All right,
commercial
5150.
enrichment
I've been saying
capacity.
this
We're
level all
dangerously
day.
dependent on imports from
This is
other
it.
countries.
Because if we break below here, now we're
Congress
going to
took a
get
strong
relegated
stand
to
by
possibly
banning
gap
Russian
fill.
uranium imports.
Otherwise, if
We're
we
now
bounce up
seeing a
here, you could
troubling
still
shift
hold.
with
It's only
increased
1%
uranium
now.
imports
Today
coming from
sucks.
China. And we think it's the uranium from Russia going to China.
Because
which
it was
they
at
then
3
sell to
point
the
something.
United States. So
Woo! Now what do you mean
simply replaced
1%?
one adversary
The
with
fuck?
another. This poses to me a serious
My
threat
hospice
to our
is
national
failing.
security, to
What
our
do you
energy
mean?
independence.
I thought we was
Wyoming has the
getting a
resources
break.
and the workforce to revive American uranium production. But what we know is that subsidized foreign uranium from
Yeah, bro,
China
you're
and
down
from Russia
40 points from
threatens to
that.
undermine our domestic industry. Well, you're going to support efforts to end
So yeah, it's
uranium
flushing there.
imports from China
Unfortunately,
as we continue to try to
bro,
build
very
our
hard
US
on the
nuclear
intraday plays. That Tesla, if you
Senator,
held
I'm
the
happy to
downside, that
talk
would have
to you
hit.
about that and the best way to implement
You
that
could
kind of
make the
action.
plays like that TSM is climbing,
market access
but you're
for
just
Wyoming.
pretty much
Our
2%
ranchers
move
are
is
seeing
paying
what
you
recently
20%.
did, what the president has recently done, and say it's about time. I know you heard a lot about market access today. Just specifically discuss market access for American beef. It's our number one cash crop in Wyoming. Our ranchers produce some of the highest quality beef in the world, yet our beef faces significant barriers in key foreign markets. So I do appreciate your office's efforts to document the numerous barriers that unfairly block American beef exports. For example, Thailand imposes a 50% tariff on American beef. The European Union's numerous, quote, green
Okay,
deal
VIX is hitting a new high while we're into the low.
opportunities for our
So see, we either keep flushing or we
Australia's
bounce.
barriers prevent the sale of
But now look, you broke that
safe,
10%. Now VIX
high-quality
down
American
9.
beef. They've sold
This might be the
$29
move.
billion into our country. We can't
And
sell a
by move,
hamburger
I mean
there.
we just need to either
So
see if the
Wyoming
VIX
beef
could go
producers
green or
have
not.
felt the direct impact
Yeah.
of these unfair
That's what you
trade
got to watch
prices. And I
for.
say it's our number one cash crop. What steps do you see being taken now to
5140,
open
10
new
points below the
markets and
level.
ensure fair access
NASDAQ
for our
1.4,
beef
SPY
around the world?
1.5, Russell is the weakest, 0.4.
So, Senator,
VIX is at
as everyone knows, we have a
4263,
lot of
actual
countries coming
VIX.
to talk to us right now who want to have more reciprocal trade, get their trade deficit down, and obviously part of that.
Yeah,
is making
Alphabet,
sure we have access
Microsoft
for
pair
products
gains
like
on
beef, making
Democratic
sure we're
probe.
exporting products like
Second
beef.
round
I've
of
talked
U.S.
to Australians about this
consultations
issue.
to
It's
take
always
place
surprising,
April
because
10th
they're,
in
a great
Istanbul.
partner for us globally. This is a big
So
issue.
you got
with
that
them,
coming out now,
Southeast
too.
Asia as well.
New low,
These are things that are on our
5138.
list when people come to talk to us. It's something we've recorded for years, and we expect countries to change this.
Great, thank you. In terms of critical minerals, we sit on vast deposits of critical minerals in Wyoming, essential for our national security. Our state has significant reserves of rare earth elements. Are there some trade initiatives that you're taking right now that are going to pursue to counter China's dominance in the critical minerals world, both in terms of production as well as refinement?
Yes, well, I know, for example, this is at the Commerce Department, but I know they're considering whether they need to take some kind of an action and looking in a potential Section 232 investigation of critical minerals to know, how we can get that here, how we can get processing here in our near abroad, how to make sure we're not dependent on China for those things.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator yeah, Blackburn. This time gold is up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
But then again, the market's still up. That's the funny part. This looks like if this was any other day, that you
And
didn't
we
gap up
appreciate
3%,
that
this would
and
be a nightmare.
Appreciate what
You've sold
the
off
president
15
is
points
trying to do
intraday.
for the broader
But do you
economy.
not see it, though? You're
And,
still
of course,
fucking
It
green.
is encouraging to hear that we have 70 countries that are coming in to negotiate tariffs, and some of those non-tariff barriers that have existed. So we're grateful for all that work. I do want to ask you about some of the foreign governments using bogus environmental regulations to really sideline American businesses, and the EU's
Yeah, all the defense names holding
new
good.
deforestation
Yeah, you're still going
regulations are a
lower.
great
VIX now
example
down by
of
8.
this.
Still at 42. That's
Imposing
insane.
excessive reporting
That's it, bro.
requirements that
TLT,
would
they froze
shut
it.
out
Premiums are
Tennessee
literally
pulp
down.
and paper
They're up, but we were
producers
making
from
way more
foreign
right here.
markets. And
But yeah, and then the
also,
yen keeps running,
we're
though.
seeing some of these
That's the
foreign
funny part.
governments actually seize
Yeah,
US
the yen keeps going out,
assets
but then again,
under
yen hasn't
false
broken out, but it's still
pretenses. And
green.
last year we had a company, Vulcan Materials, which declined to sell its Mexican port to the government. So armed forces came in and took control of that, citing environmental licensing requirements. And this is a pattern of regulatory abuse, and it keeps our companies
Scammers
out
saw the it
of
worked
the
though.
global
I mean,
market.
again,
So how
you still
are
made
you
20, 30.
working
That's how every
to
play was
protect
today.
these US
It's like you could have hit a
businesses
good
and to
top
deal
to
with
bottom
these
move,
foreign
but
governments who
you
are
only made like
weaponizing
20%,
their
30%.
bogus
There's a couple
regulations
plays
to
again
restrict
that
the market
Tesla hit,
access?
but even then,
Well, Senator, I always find it troubling when countries use these kind of measures as a protectionist measure. Our companies, whether they're making here and exporting or going elsewhere to produce in other countries, are always the cleanest and most responsible, always. And we should always have the best treatment under those kinds of regimes. So with respect to the two examples you noted on the Vulcan issue, I've raised this personally with Mexican trade officials. And with respect to the EU forestry regulation, my understanding is right now it's a little bit on pause while they themselves look at it and take a second look. And I talk to my counterparts in Europe frequently, and this is something where I wanna make
first
sure that
buys
they're
gonna kill.
treating
I was
us
comparing it to
appropriately under this law,
2016.
not discriminating against us.
That's wonderful. If I could get in writing from you an update on the Vulcan port issue, that would be
The
helpful
Vulcan port.
also.
We're happy to do that, Senator.
Thank
Yes.
you. I want to talk about digital trade because President Trump really has shown great leadership when it comes
Italy
to
Maloney
digital
says she'll be
trade.
in Washington
And
April
that was a part of
17th
the
to discuss
negotiations
tariffs with
on
Trump.
The USMCA. And it
But that's
really
still in 10
gave
days.
us a very robust and ambitious digital trade chapter. And the provisions, including cross-border data flows and data localization, are critical to facilitating strategic U.S. initiatives across a broad range of industries. And we have an opportunity now to build on this digital chapter. So, and I think that could really pave a way to add other provisions on critical issues such as AI, such as quantum computing that we are dealing with. So how could you use this digital trade chapter that we have in the USMCA to expand that globally as we look at negotiating new trade agreements?
Well, I think it's important to understand that our companies, our digital trade companies, are the most competitive in the world. They're the most effective in the world. And what we don't want is a situation where they are
I would love to hear her say exactly.
retaliated against, or
She
they're
seems like
discriminated
she'd have the
against, such
accent
that,
down.
Their
Exactly.
Chinese competitors actually take up market share. I mean, that would be a disastrous situation. And so as countries come to us and want to talk about how to have more reciprocal trade or better trade actions, I would expect that we want to make sure that they're not discriminating against our technology companies. And we want to have, we want to make sure we have a level playing field so we can have the appropriate market access that we want, and whether we do that in formal trade agreements.
Got a
or just
nice
in commitments
bounce.
from
It's
these other
just like the
countries.
first time.
as you know,
You guys
digital
remember,
trade is
same thing with the
important to
10% on the VIX.
So
We broke a
we're
little
looking
bit
forward
below,
to
then
that.
we bounce up. We did the same
Non-tariff
thing on this
barriers
flush.
are something
And then
that
we'll
get
see.
mentioned,
Now you're going to get to this level
quite a bit
probably.
as we are
But I
talking
still
to
think you need a
companies.
break
I know
above here, like I told you.
Vietnam has several
Otherwise, yeah, we're
non-tariff
still kind of
barriers.
trapped. But now
And
that's it.
we've
The
seen
bonds,
this in the
bonds are going to probably
USTR's
either move
national
late day or you
trade
got to wait for the next headline
estimate
tomorrow.
report. And
It's still mad
We
early
had a
though. It's
record high
9:30.
deficit
It's fucking
with
halfway
Vietnam
through the day.
in 2024, and in part that's
I mean,
because Chinese
they are,
companies
but
are
this is
using
still
Vietnam
like following
to
the
train
theme.
ships. So
Stocks up,
will you
TLT
work
down no
to
matter
ensure
what. You
that
see what I'm
any
saying?
possible
It's
deal
still
with
like, remember,
Vietnam,
we're
because I
green.
know they've been
So
first
although
to the
you might,
table
you're like, wow, we're
to
going
try to
down, TLT should be
negotiate for a
rocketing.
zero
The only
tariff,
thing telling you
but
TLT should be up
want
is the
to
yen.
make certain
But
that
Japan had
whatever
that
is
trade
done
news this
includes
morning.
provisions
But
that
you're
will
still
not
mad
allow
green right
China
now.
to reap the
So
benefits
it kind of
of
makes
working
sense,
within
but
shipping
just
through
remember that's what gets
Vietnam.
confusing
I
when
agree
we
with you
gap
100%,
this high,
Senator, whether it's
and then
Vietnam or
we're
others,
like going through the
if
middle.
they think they're going to have some kind of different rate, it can't be one that gives preference to a third country like China, where they can just take
I
advantage
live on
of
the
it
West
or use
Coast.
it to circumvent what we're trying to do. I agree with you 100% on this point.
Well, thank you for that. Thank you, Mr.
5150.
Chairman.
That's where you're at.
Thank
So
you,
you just
Senator
bounce to the
Sanders.
whoa.
Thank you,
Hold
Mr.
up.
Chairman. Mr. Greer, thanks for being here. And I
Hold on,
enjoyed our
Vic,
conversation
Spy,
in the office
Bonds.
last month.
Something just
Let me
snapped.
begin by saying,
Be
as
careful.
I suspect you know that
Be
I am
careful.
not
The
a big fan
dailies
of
moved a
unfettered
shit
free
ton
trade.
right there. You
I
moved
helped
3
lead the effort
points.
when I was in the House.
So go
against
$3
NAFTA,
further
against
than what strike you want to
opening
buy,
normal trade
because you could
relations
get. Yeah,
with
they already
China.
popped, but honestly, it's not that
I will
bad.
never forget a visit that I made to the Macadillo
Oh yeah,
area
it's fucking
in
glitching.
Mexico, where I saw
All right, I
brand
grabbed
new
a small
factories
one. I don't know what it
and
is.
literally Mexican
I don't know
workers
what it is. That's just
living
fat.
in cardboard boxes.
But hold on, some out of the money's
and
moved
the
to
result, of
it's
course, was the loss
50%.
of hundreds
Be
of
careful though.
thousands
No,
of
you could get
jobs,
scammed
good-paying
on
jobs
this.
in this country, transferring them to Mexico where people work for
Okay,
horrendous
hold
wages.
on.
That is the type of trade policy which I detest. But I want to move to an area to talk about.
All right,
the
I'm
legal
out. I'm out.
basis of
No, be careful.
What President Trump
Be
has
careful. I
done.
got like 3 cents, but that
President
moved. I
Trump
got
said,
one free.
Mr. Greer, that he had
Just
no
be very
choice
careful
in terms
though.
of Canada.
Those contracts are
And
all
I
up
live 50 miles
100%.
away from the Canadian border.
It's still a scam.
He had no
Don't
choice
fall
but
for
to
it.
bypass Congress and to
I'm
impose
telling
an
you.
emergency
Nah,
25%
hold on
tariff
though.
on
No. That was too
stop,
big.
quote,
Because I got a
the
good one.
massive, end
I
quote,
shot
amount of
$3
fentanyl,
later.
end
Apple
quote, the
secretary
millions and millions
says
of undocumented
104%
coming from the
went in
northern border.
effect at noon because China has not
unfortunately, that's a
removed
lie.
retaliation.
The truth is that the U.S. Customs and
Holy
Border
shit.
Protection reported just 43 pounds of fentanyl was seized at the Canadian border last year, representing just 0.2% of the total. Now we could
Yeah,
agree
so
that
that's
1
the
pound
news.
of
All right.
fentanyl is
Honestly,
too much.
maybe watch.
But if 0.2%
That might hit-
constitutes an emergency,
Just you
my
got to
guess
wait
is
till the next
illegal
bounce
drugs
though
are
for
coming
the
into every
daily because
country
these
in
are
the world.
they all
And that
got
gives
snapped.
the President of the United States incredible power to determine
So I'm not going to buy
tariffs.
more unless it bounces.
Further, he said among
Otherwise, you go
he
for
talked
Apple.
about millions and millions of undocumented immigrants coming from Canada. In fact, last year there were 24,000 people, not millions and millions. First question, really, we can argue about tariffs, but why does the president have to lie all of the time in order to make his point?
So, Senator, I would just refute that when the president is talking about the
Apple's
nature of the
still
emergency
green.
we
That's
have.
hilarious.
Could you talk a
This
little
is
bit
very
closer
serious.
into the mic?
Certainly.
Bro, my
Senator,
Apple
I would
calls
just
are
say,
still
I
green
think
right
you
now.
need to look at what the president issued in terms of the order for the legal basis for what we're doing. Right?
too
I mean,
expensive,
the president
though, man.
Very rightly hit on this issue of fentanyl migration coming from northern southern borders, and it's a real emergency.
Drugs are a real emergency. 0.2%.
Nah, bro, I can't eat. Bro, even the apples
can then
are
argue
shitty.
Drugs, illegal drugs come from every country in the world. If you declare that as an emergency,
So I got a
you give
free
the
spy
President
put
of
on
the
that,
United
but I
States
don't even fucking like
unbelievable
this.
power. Let me go on that point. Let me mention to you what you probably know. 7 Republicans have joined a number of Democrats on legislation reasserting Congress's ability to play an active role in trade.
Yeah,
and
104
tariffs.
went in
That
effect at
on the
noon
Republican
Eastern.
side was led by Senator Grassley. And he said, and I quote, "For too long, Congress has delegated its clear authority to regulate interstate and foreign commerce to the executive branch, et cetera, et cetera." He wants to reassert Congress's constitutional role and ensure Congress has a voice in trade policy, end of quote. In the last 2 weeks, all we have seen is reports in the newspaper. Congress has not had 1 ounce of authority in determining tariff policy. Do you think Congress should be completely left out of the process? What does the president
president have emergency power to do anything he wants with regard to tariffs.
Senator, my staff has had over 200 meetings with congressional offices in the past 2 months to consult. The president's been very transparent about what he wants to do on tariffs. Congress delegated a lot to him to take this action.
Mr. Greer, you can have all the meetings you want. You and I had a nice meeting. But at the end of the day, the president did exactly what he wanted to do without any discussion, formal discussion with members of Congress. He could make recommendations to Congress, that's for sure. Do you really think that he has the power under an emergency degree to reorder the trade world, global trade policy, without any input from the United States Congress?
All right, man.
You're going Congress down. Gave him
it sucks. I don't like the plays. I grabbed an apple, but it was hard. But I'm holding both. I'm strangled now on apple. I have a call and a put.
The 0.2%.
But yeah, I'm thinking for tomorrow.
Canada
so hear me out.
Emergency.
Sir.
Do you?
I even put it on the stream alert. I made the Apple play. I'm still holding the call, but I'm thinking for tomorrow. I'm not thinking about intraday. I'm not thinking about today anymore. You're just thinking on whatever we get. But keep it small because now you've already sold off 4. But like I'm saying, the calls are green. So I think it's kind of scammy here a little bit. But that headline, I mean, 104% is not good. But you've had 2 back-to-back days of bad China, and we're doing pretty good. So we'll see. But now Baba's reacting. But again, I'm thinking about tomorrow. Do you understand? I'm going to say it again. Think about tomorrow. Okay? That's it. Because now we're still green. We're getting news. It's bad news related to China rate increasing. But I want you to think about some of those for tomorrow because the premiums are barely moving right now. So, yallah.
Now 2 hours and almost 40 minutes, but we have one more question. Senator Wyden has one more question, and then we'll
Thank you
wrap
very
up.
much, Mr.
This will be the last question.
So, Mr. Greer, we've been
Mr.
at
Greer.
this a long time, and
are we tariffing garlic or not?
About international trade, reciprocity.
Now the TLTs are 30. They just hate us.
On and on.
But yeah, that's bad news, you guys.
Verbiage,
no, China cannot absorb 100%. And then if they don't come to a deal, they're going to fuck us. So, or they're going to at least, that's bad news. That's what I'm saying. It sucks because the premium's jacked up on $3. Now my plays only back up to the 40%. I was able to scam it real quick, but all I went with was Apple. But now you have a big piece of news right now. Caroline Leavitt is saying that China already has 100% tariffs, okay? So, yeah, and then that is affecting Apple. That is the bad news.
Kinds of dates far in the future.
Okay, NASDAQ might go red, VIX might go green.
When will those hurting now see real relief?
Okay, TLT is about to go 40% now. SPY plays are hitting 40, 50.
He knows how to use tariffs appropriately to negotiate deals where necessary and to drive investment and manufacturing back to the U.S. And that's what we're doing.
Okay, Apple calls have came down. I was green earlier, and then the puts have raised the bid. That's it.
To make sure we can do that.
Mr. Greer, I gave you a chance to respond to the question, and what you said wasn't accurate. Nobody disputes that the president won the election up here on the dais. But nobody was told in the election campaign that we would have all of these people hurting now because of a flawed trade policy. Once in a while,
no, I voted for this trade policy, actually.
But there wasn't
I don't know if it's a bad time to let y'all know.
Of people from one end of the country to another feeling they've been wiped out financially. Nobody heard about that. That was never discussed. Hope you'll have an answer for me, because that's what Americans want to know who are hurting now. They've listened to all of this trade lingo tossed around, and then they scratch their head and say, who's going to stand up for me now? Well, I'll tell you, we're going to fight for those people. That's why I'm proposing a bipartisan
I don't believe you till TLT's at 100. Liars.
What's going on with 180 countries?
I got a 19% mortgage rate.
Open for a few days.
Meanwhile, fucking Wall Street can margin whatever the fuck they want.
And what the
fucking
timetable
trade
is
terminology.
for
Give me a
helping
fucking low
people
mortgage
who are
rate
hurting
and
right
half
now,
off the house.
Because I haven't heard anything on that point. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Stupid ass.
Thank you, Senator Wyden. And we are now at the conclusion of the questions. Ambassador Greer, thank you for the time you've given us. As I indicated, you've gone almost 2 hours and 45 minutes. And I think you have been very clear about what the president's intentions are and how you expect this to roll out. The questions for the record deadline is Tuesday, April 15th for members of the Senate.
Okay, bro, you just dropped another 3 points off that. VIX is about to go green.
Thank you.
The trade meeting is over, so that's good. And then now we watch Apple. So literally you had bad news. Caroline Levitt just a couple of minutes ago confirmed that Apple will be paying 100% tariff, or China will be paying 100% tariff, meaning that Trump's threat last night came true, but the market did not react. That's why now I think we're reacting. So it sucks because the plays were very, very difficult there. So you got to start moving around. But I got one free SPY. I panicked on it because it was a $3 move, but now that plays up 60. I just didn't grab a lot of them. But yeah, so then Apple, and then now watch China, but it went from gap up, Japan negotiation. I was telling you China all day, and we were looking at the yuan, and then we started slipping, and now this might be the death blow. Russell has gone red already. NASDAQ is only up 0.5%. SPY is up 0.75%. You're going to get a bounce here eventually, but again, make sure you understand the bad news was the China development, sadly. So see. I think that was the main event. But it's all China. I was telling you. I was fucking putting up the yuan today, and we were talking about, things got worse with China, but we focused on the other part. But now, I don't know. That doesn't sound good, bro. Apple 100%. Bloomy is still not covering China tariffs yet. Yeah. That's good then. We're mad early. They don't like, usually when we're hella early, they hate giving it attention, but I think this one's too big to ignore. So watch out for it, though. Again, a lot of things are still green, but that's it. At this point, I mean, you've already broke the levels like I told you now. So like I said, 5,100 if you don't hold 5,150, and now you're just back to yesterday. That's it. All of the gap, all of whatever, all of the headlines. Now you just have confirmation of more. Okay, they're widening spreads now on Apple. Fuck yeah. That wasn't doing that before. So the spreads are getting wider here. I should have held the Tesla downside one, but we still made money on that. Now TLT is looking good, but TLT has a lot in store, bro. That's nothing. Again, the yen is up, but TLT plays are up 40. So if you would like to make them free, you can do that right now. Or you keep riding them home. Well, I don't know if this is how you get trapped on TLT. Because if you think it looks like a good buy now, we just have to sit through all day of BS of why isn't it up? TLT don't move. So, yeah, be careful because now they're up 50% after we spent all day getting nothing out of them. But like I told you, watch list. Woo! All right, you're flushing 180. Again, premiums on Apple now are starting to move. So that's the good part. Bro, they just said 100% tariffs on Apple or on China. Like, what? That's what I was saying. Even yesterday, we dodged that and we acted like that was nothing. But is that really happening? And then, yeah, Caroline Levitt. Oh. Ah, girl. You know what I say? Yeah. Oh. You know what? Girl. I never brought the fucking market down. When I was the fucking president, the stock market only went fucking up. So, you, Donald Trump, and you who voted for. Is this what you guys fucking voted for? Call that. See, I'm sick of this. What are you... And you too, Donald. Go. Shit. Axios correspondent, among all the headlines yesterday about Trump and Netanyahu, there was a statement by the American that didn't get enough attention. Trump said he wants the war in Gaza to end. That's Axios. Yeah, man, that's wild. All right. I think Apple's going to jump a little bit, but then I think the premiums are going to hold. SPY plays are still up 50%. So I might even sell that one. Actually, I'll just hold it. Fuck it. Because I always sell the free one early. But I wanted to buy a lot more. I just didn't want to get caught in the $3. I should have held that. So, but I'm going to wait till we could get like a good put play. But just be very careful. That's it. I'm playing more cautious than not today. Too many traps. But now we got the news. Now you at least have I do think that China headline, that's at least another, 7 points around here? So that's crazy. Ready to pay $10K for an iPhone? You guys aren't going to pay $10K for an iPhone. You are going to just have a crashed economy. Just please get that, okay? For real. It's just, I don't know why everybody, even on Wall Street to everywhere else, is acting all cute. All you smart guys, and y'all like to tell me how smart you are in so many other topics. But I don't know why everybody gets hella dumb when it comes to this. All of a sudden, everyone just get hella stupid. They just forget everything. So I'll show you a chart just in case. I don't want no more cuteness, okay, guys? Because very simply, last time you had tariffs, that brought the stock market down in 4 years, brought the stock market down about 90%. The last time you had this tariff rate, okay? Do you understand that? So last time you had tariffs of this rate, you collapsed the entire economy. Okay? So let me ask you this. In a collapsed economy, do prices go up? What do you think happens to the price of houses, cars, and stocks? Hypothetically, if we repeated last time what happened when the tariffs were high, what goes on? Yeah, prices do not go up if this happens. Okay? And then I'll show you. Ironically, this is why I keep telling you about bonds, because last time on that same thing, when you raise tariffs and have to deal with that, they have to lower rates because the economy gets so bad. So again, these two narratives that rates should be high and prices should be high is cap. Because if these tariffs actually stay, you're just going to have a crashed economy, and then they have to lower rates to account for that. That is what happens in tariffs if you raise them this high and take them to their end. I rest my case, but I'm sure somebody's going to ask again. So, yeah, but just, I don't know, into the lows with China tariffs, I think that's a good one to remind you of. You should be more worried of the demand destruction. All right. All right, you're moving up there, though. Watch out. Okay, I'm selling the TLTs from today. 40%. We're going to buy them back later. I just know they're going to scam them. I could already tell. Take your 40%. Now you're getting a fat pop, but I don't know what that is. I just know bonds, those bonds might end up higher by the end of today. I think there's going to be a little pullback, bring the premiums back down, and then that'll be last call, at least for the day. But I'm out of those. My SPY puts are still up. And the Apple puts are still up, too. So this is just moving premiums, but they're holding. LTLT calls? No. 40%. You little hoe. I think you misheard. You might have hoitis. It affects hearing. That's what I've heard. So, yeah, I don't know if you have it or not, but go get that checked. But 40%, that means it's a gain. You made half of your money on a day where there's not too many winning plays. More news time. Levitt to impose 104 on China tomorrow. Wait, so that was fake? On China tomorrow. Wait a minute. Hold on. Yo, big homie, that might be fake. Yeah, SPY plays are even coming back down to break even. I'm going to get rid of the last free one. Give me my money. Because now, do you not get it? They're saying tomorrow, not today. Deadline was today, but, I mean, listen, you're getting some confusion right now. I don't know if it's fake or not. Hear me out. So it started, the rumor was saying that the price is going to be raised, or Apple's reporting that because China didn't respond, and then now we sell off 5 points, and then they're saying that it goes in effect tomorrow. So it's either misrepresentation, people are just getting confused, or it's the same news, we're just confused on the time zones. So the point is, you're just getting volatility on that headline right now. 12 a.m. tomorrow, but then there's the quote, Caroline Levitt. Yeah, Caroline Levitt is going to go live. I have the feed. So that's what we're waiting for. Get ready. It's probably not going to move out of here until she talks. But that rumor might be fake. It might be. I don't know. But you saw yesterday we had a rumor, so be careful. No, wait. Levitt says tariffs went into effect at noon because China has not removed. 104 will be collected starting April 9th tomorrow. No, it's the same news. There's just more details about it, but literally 104 goes into effect at noon Eastern time because China, and then the 104 will be collected starting tomorrow, April 9th. So the first part is still true. Everyone, I think the waters are getting muddied on it. Yeah, the others will be tomorrow. And yeah, I don't know. And then China said they won't back down. Just wait. Give her a couple minutes. I don't know if it's fake. I just think there's more details. But something's getting muddied right now. That's why you had fat dump down, fat pop, but now even bonds are chilling out too. Oh, man. No, it's 100 on China, not 200. But that's the thing. That's massive. And I think that's not good, but the market is kind of sanguine about it or focusing on other stuff, or maybe we're just in hospice, as the Congressional people say. You have a shot of tequila? Well, nice. I don't know why you're still here, though, after your little comment. So, goodbye. Go enjoy your tequila somewhere else, big dog. All right. I think you're going to hold. We need more clarity, but I don't think it's fake. I just think we have volatility now. I think this is what we got to find. Currently, it's 12:52, April 9th, Beijing, which is noon here, Eastern. Yeah, you're coming back down. I sold my free one. Maybe they just hustled us out. Now the free one's back up. So, yeah, man, puts are still green. I could find you another one if you'd like. But I'm scared because I don't want the – yeah, no, you're paying fucking $40 for a $4.90. That's disgusting. Yeah, all the puts are up 100%. So you get one little pop, you're going to be down 50. You got to be very careful. That's it. Double dip the TLTs if you really want. Yeah, White House to start collecting 104 on China at 12:01 Eastern. Reuters now. That's confirmed. So now Reuters is putting out the 104. But then again, it is Reuters. It's dangerous, bro. Yeah, that's what I'm telling you. Be careful. I snagged a 60% like spy play, but I was telling you got to be careful, bro, because it moves so big on a candle. I shot $3 further out of the money to protect myself, and even that one still shot up by another 100%. So be careful, because look, this is what I'm trying to tell you. If you try to play the pop and you buy that 512 call right out of the money, you think you're buying a 512 and then it comes back to normal. You're $3 out of the money, but then in volatility, you paid for the 50 cents out of the money. You see what I'm saying? Premier Maloney to see Trump April 17th. Yeah, that was earlier. You get gamma clapped? No, you're not getting any clapped. You don't even have to be that smart to real. It has nothing. It's just literally this market's moving so much that you were 50 cents out of the money, hence why the price goes up, and then now you're $3 out of the money all within 45 seconds. That's it. That's all that's happening. That's why if you try to react to a quick move and you're not mindful of where you started and where you're buying, you might wind yourself up in a very overly priced shitty option. Like, watch, I'll show you the 512 call. I think this will be a good example. Yeah, look, this is what I'm trying to say. Because this play was even expensive. But, like, look at on that pop. It shot up to 358, and then right away you're back down to 278. You lost $100 in a second. And now look, it just climbed up, and then your play went down. So now, even though you're right where the news came out, you're down $150. Or at least $100, 30-40% on that contract. That's why I'm saying you got to know where you start from and what you're buying. So like I'm saying, right now, look, you just started from 510. You're at 508. Be careful. You seeing what I'm saying? You have to be mindful. And then, okay, there's your TLT double dip like I told you. I didn't take it yet, though. Oh, you could get them 10% lower. All right, SPY's coming back down. U.S. moving forward with 104 official. Yeah, bro. That's it. No, I know the play. Oh, scammers! Fucking scammer! The play's the VIX, bro. Oh, those plays had a 5-cent ask. They just jacked up the spread. Fucking scammer. I was like, dude, it's VIX. Nah, VIX was the answer because they killed the VIX this morning. But I didn't think they would raise the fucking spread. But what? I shouldn't have expected anything less. Yeah, nah, the VIX. Because they killed it. They killed those. All my VIX plays are back up. They shouldn't be. Those plays should be dead. They were dead in the morning. All right, so you're getting more confirmation on 104%. Even though this news was yesterday, everybody faded it. And now, after selling off 3%, we're now taking that rumor seriously as it goes into play. That's crazy. China. Nah, bro. Fuck. It's hard. I mean, you would have made a lot off if you took the news play, but like I said, it moved $3 way too much. Even you could have played this one right here, but you were just at 510, so be mindful. You're pretty much shooting from $2 out. All right, you're going back down. Okay, I found your contract. I found the lagging ones. So that's it. Just like every other day, I could find you I found a shitty play. So there's one play out there right now that hasn't gotten premium moving, but it's such a terrible play. It's such a bad play. It's only if we like really dump right now. All right. Well, they're starting to move up a little bit. Those are going to lag. Actually, no, I'm already at 15%. But yeah, there's some go again, if you've been watching me, you know what I'm talking about. Go look at the dailies or tomorrow and go find the ones with lack of premium right now. That's it. That's the only ones you could take. I think it's 104 total. All righty. Okay, bro, it sucks because look at this though, 507. That one's only $1, but still, do you see what I'm saying though? If you're $1 near the money though, you're moving that all in the same minute. Hegseth says Panama faces threat of Chinese companies having critical foothold. So now you got Panama Canal news. That's related to what's it called? That's related to the China stuff as well. Low ticker fully active again. Spy plays are terrible. There's just a couple of ones that we just took. That's it. You either go for death blow, or you might as well just wait or go individuals. Oh, Bitcoin. But yeah, the VIX and everything else. Again, the news is 100% tariffs on China. That's it. The same news from yesterday. It's just hitting now, and people are taking it seriously. But that's it. You're wiping out the gain. NASDAQ up only a quarter. TLT, that's going way green now. So you got at least 40, 50%. You're welcome. And then now, that's it. We just wait. I got even the shitty spy plays up 50 almost now. 35. One more tick, they'll go up a penny, or 1 penny. We'll bring them up 50. That's insane. Those are the shittiest plays too, bro. Crazy. Yeah, now we got to wait for Levitt. She's going to confirm it all. Don't thank me for TLT. Thank the Watchlist because it told you what to do. So if you watched the Watchlist last night, didn't come on stream and did what it said, you should be up. Assuming you woke up early enough. That's it. Don't work if you stay asleep and shit. Yeah, they just juiced right now. And now watch out though. Be careful. Like I told you, I already got out of the ones for today. I just have the other ones now. I've been doing that every day. I don't think you guys realize it. I've been every other day. I just do the opposite of TLT and it pays. Yesterday we turned 200 into 2,000 off of it, just off the puts. Okay, now bonds down. SPY. Just get ready though. And that's your watch list. All right, I'm going to go to the bathroom. It's 10 o'clock. So at this point, though, last time I told you guys to get a membership, 5 of you signed up. So I'm going to tell you now, you don't need to like the video anymore. But getting a membership will benefit you a lot more. Oh, bond, 3.78. Oh, that's why TLT just died. Blech. So, yeah, you just had a bad bond auction. So now TLT and bonds will get taken out of the picture for a couple minutes. Yeah, that's terrible. So again, people aren't buying bonds and are not showing up in highest fear. But then again, all of you who have the narratives and you are like, oh, other countries not selling or other countries selling, they don't need to dump our bonds. They just need to not show up at the auctions. Ta-da! If you haven't got any stream alerts today, you should reach out if you already signed up because that means your thing's not working because there was a lot sent out today. But, yeah, you just had a bad bond auction. But, yeah, go and get a membership because we are going to be moving to Philo. So you will need a membership to listen if that is important to you. So get ready for that, though. But I think it's time we move on over. I'm going to go to the bathroom, and when I come back, we are going to move it on to Philo. So you will need a membership, and you will need to go to that link. So we'll see, but SPY at the low, big bond reaction. Shout out the Watchlist. And I love you, and God bless you. Amen. Amen. I'll be right back. Please hold.
Office, that there was not going to be
Bloomberg's talking about it now.
Would you be open to a pause in tariffs to allow for negotiations?
Well, we're not looking at that. We have many countries that are coming to negotiate deals with us, and they're going to be fair deals. And in certain cases, they're going to be paying substantial tariffs. They don't want to be in the hands of the Chinese. And the Chinese have turned out to be really not very good at that. People that are with us, they're with us. But we cannot be taken advantage of any longer.
Although, as the president wrote on Truth Social, while referring to impending talks and a great call, as he called it, with the acting president of South Korea, he went on to talk about China. Also wants to make a deal badly, he says, but they don't know how to get it started. We are waiting for their call. It will happen. In the meantime, as Kayleigh mentioned, 104% combined tariffs set to take effect on China. And that's where we start our report from Bloomberg's Tyler Kendall, who joins us live from the White House. Tyler?
Yeah, hey, Joe. So these tariffs expected to go into effect, those additional tariffs, midnight tonight. We have to keep in mind that President Trump had put forward a deadline of today for China to pull back on its planned retaliation that we are expecting to go into effect on April 10th, 34% levy against U.S. imports. We also have to keep in mind that the planned China retaliation includes some targeted action, including export controls against several critical minerals, as well as targeting some key U.S. agriculture sectors. We have to keep that in mind because that's going to keep coming up in these conversations, since we know that that is a pressure point for this White House. Reports indicating that senior administration officials are already starting to think of ways how they could potentially bail out farmers down the road if there is a significant loss when it comes to the U.S. agricultural sector. Also, as we look forward to what it could potentially take to make a deal, we do know from a statement earlier today, China saying that they would prefer.
Whoa. That membership, why does it work today? I tell you guys, get a membership. Y'all just buy memberships? Buy a membership. What the fuck? Yo, thank you. Amen. Well, yeah, we got to go to Philo. I guess might as well keep selling it. I might as well tell you guys that not every, how many people are in here right now? Let me see. Please hold. Whew. 6,700 people. So here's the deal. When we get into Philo mode, it's only going to be like 1,000. So you should get a membership. That way you don't have to share any of the info. So yeah, I'll see you guys there. But we're going to move to Philo now. I will see you guys at Power Hour, and you're about to hit a new low. I hope you're locked in, baby. Peace.